Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tempe City Council regular council meeting. The time is now 6:14 p.m. in the Harry E. Mitchell Government Center. Members of the public who attend the meeting physically are asked to maintain distance between other parties, and masks are optional for all attendees per City of Tempe policy. Alternatively, members of the public may attend the meeting virtually through Cisco WebEx events by visiting tempe.gov/councilmeetinginfo for more information. Council meetings can also be watched in real time via Cox Cable Channel 11 and at tempe.gov/tempe11. So immediately following the regular council meeting, we will have a special budget meeting. We're going to move things around a little bit to make sure we can get the speakers in earlier, followed by a Rio Salado Community Facilities District Board meeting. So I'd like everyone to, if you are able and willing, to stand and join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to sit for a second really quickly, though, just before, because I want to make sure the microphone can pick me up. 2 weeks ago, we lost a member of our community, Sean Bickings, who was affectionately known to his family and friends as Mad Rocks. I had the opportunity to meet him a couple of days before his very tragic passing, when the city, along with many nonprofit organizations such as the Aris Foundation and Hugs for the Houseless, we're talking about ways to help our unsheltered neighbors living in the river bottom to find additional housing as well as services. And Sean was gracious enough to be there to help offer his support and advice and, frankly, his experiences to us, so we could actually take that information and use that to help provide better services and better shelter options at the City of Tempe. So I want to say I had a chance to meet him. He was a very, very nice man just during the interaction that we had. We are very sorry for his loss, and we definitely mourn with him and his family and his friends. So if you can we please have a moment of silence for Mr. Bickings? Thank you. Okay. Excuse me. If you clappered, folks, if you clap or cheer, we're going to have to ask you to be removed. We have to get through all the speakers this evening, just out of respect for the process. I want to ensure that everyone can speak, but we have to do it in an orderly fashion, so please. Please. Okay, once again, I'm going to say no shouting out. Please, let's respect this process, please, and we will get through all the speakers. We want to be respectful of everyone. We appreciate people coming out this evening to voice their opinion, but please be respectful of the process and no shouting out. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. But not for black people, clearly, right? If you speak out, you will be removed. Everyone who wants an opportunity to speak will have an opportunity this evening. Okay, next up we have item number 4, meeting minutes. Tonight I'll be assisted by Councilmember Adams. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, I motion to approve.
Oh, here, Mike.
Oh, yes, that helps. I make a motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm on a different.
4A1?
Yes, 4A1.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Please vote.
What's the next one?
Hold on 1 second here.
Yes.
Okay. And Councilmember Adams, voice vote?
Yes, I would like to make
Okay.
a motion. Yes, I am a yes. I'll vote. I apologize.
And that motion passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent.
Very good.
Next up, we have item 4B, acceptance of board, commission, and committee meeting minutes. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to accept 4B1 through 4B6.
It's been moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Please vote.
Yes.
Yes.
And that item also passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent.
Yeah, it's working.
Next up, item 5, reports and announcements. Mayor's reports and announcements. I have a few. The first one here is for US 60 Workers Appreciation Day proclamation. And the proclamation goes, whereas when a water transmission line burst near the US 60 at McClintock Drive early in the morning of May 7th, expert workers from a variety of agencies, city departments, and contractors responded immediately to keep commuters safe. Whereas it is estimated that there are 170,000 vehicle trips every day between Loop 101 and McClintock Drive on US 60. Whereas working around the clock, these dedicated men and women helped reopen the US 60 as quickly and as safely as possible. Whereas the employees of the following contractors, agencies, and City of Tempe departments are shining examples of public service: the Tempe Municipal Utilities Department, Tempe Transportation and Engineering Department, Tempe Communication and Media Relations Office, Tempe Fire Medical Rescue, Tempe Police, Arizona Department of Transportation, FPS Civil, LLC, TriStar Engineering and Management, Incorporated, Combs Construction Company, Ground Level Demolition, McNeil Construction, Paveco, Inc., PMI Pavement Marking, Achin Gardner, Acor, Inc., Bob's Barricades, Incorporated, A Barricade Company, Via Sun Paving, Ricker, Atkinson, McBee, Mormon and Associates, Incorporated, Speedy and Associates, Incorporated, Otto Trucking, Franklin Pavement Markings, Trumbull Trucking, K&L Trucking, Tap Masters, CNS Sweeping, Safe Site, and KC Locate. Now therefore I, Corey D. Woods, Mayor of the City of Tempe, Arizona, do hereby declare May 23rd, 2022 as US 60 Workers Appreciation Day in Tempe, Arizona. Next up. Oh, sure. Actually, okay, can the workers come on down? Want to come on up? Council, will you want to come down and take a quick picture?
Let's just gather right here and then face out towards the audience. Some of the folks on this end come down here and we'll switch together. Let's have some of these folks sort me down. Everybody right here? 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. One more for good measure. Got it. Thank you.
We will post this photo online. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. You're welcome. Good job, man.
Thank you. All right. Next up, item 5A2 is a proclamation for World Elder Abuse Awareness Week. And that one reads, whereas as our population lives longer, we are presented with an opportunity to think about our collective needs and future as a city, state, and nation. And whereas ageism, undue influence, and social isolation are major causes of elder abuse and exploitation in the United States. And whereas older adults deserve to be treated with respect and dignity to enable them to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and vital participating members of our communities. And whereas the City of Tempe recognizes the importance of taking action to raise awareness, prevent and address elder abuse and exploitation. And whereas recognizing that it is up to all of us to ensure that proper social structures exist so people can retain community and societal connections, reducing the likelihood of abuse. And whereas preventing abuse of older adults through maintaining and improving multidimensional supports like age-friendly Tempe and dementia-friendly Tempe will allow everyone to continue to live as independently as possible and contribute to the life and vibrancy of our communities. And whereas where there is justice, there can be no abuse, therefore, City of Tempe urges all people to restore justice by honoring older adults, and whereas join us in an engaging, empowering movement to eliminate abuse. Now, therefore, I, Corey D. Woods, Mayor of the City of Tempe, Arizona, do hereby declare June 13th through the 17th, 2022 as World Elder Abuse Awareness Week in Tempe, Arizona. And the last proclamation I have, item 5A3, which is our Juneteenth proclamation. Whereas President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, formally abolishing slavery, and on June 19th, 1865, after 2.5 years, the executive decree was finally fully enforced throughout the Confederate States when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, to ensure all enslaved people were declared legally free. And whereas Juneteenth has been called the second Independence Day for the United States, and began a post-emancipation period where formerly enslaved people began the brutal journey of reunifying families, obtaining education, acquiring private property, and running for elected office. And whereas Juneteenth is a day on which we as a society pay honor to those Americans who were enslaved and recognize the evils of slavery and how its aftermath has shaped our nation. And whereas Juneteenth is also a day of reflection and renewal, as we show appreciation for the many valuable contributions and sacrifices made by African Americans to our society. And whereas the Tempe African American Advisory Committee, through the support of the Tempe History Museum, the Tempe Black Employee Alliance, and the Strategic Management and Diversity Office, work together to celebrate Juneteenth and honor our state and nation's strong African American heritage and remember the lives of those who were enslaved as part of that history. When whereas the transformative work of equity, inclusion, and reform must be shared by all in order to ensure the unalienable rights of all people to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And whereas Tempe recommits itself to the values of inclusion, equity, justice, and reform in recognition of this important day in our country's history. Now, therefore, I, Corey Woods, Mayor of the City of Tempe, Arizona, do hereby declare as an official city holiday, June 19th, 2022, as Juneteenth in Tempe, Arizona. Okay. Next up, item 5A4, which is regarding the City of Tempe General Plan 2050 Community Working Group appointments. Just wanted to note that there are new appointments to the newly formed General Plan 2050 Community Working Group, as outlined by item 7A1 on the agenda. Next up, I'll turn to item 5B, which is City Manager's reports and announcements. Mr. City Manager?
None tonight, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up we have item number 6, public appearances. I'm going to try to, just once again, just to make sure that we get folks in, because I know a lot of the cards were submitted for the special budget meeting, which is immediately following, but I want to make sure that I get people in as quickly as possible, so I'm going to put all the public appearances here so people can speak first, and we can make sure that we get through everyone and allow everyone enough time. So, according to the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the City Council may only discuss matters listed elsewhere on this agenda for discussion and legal action. The purpose of the open call to the public is to allow individuals to address the City Council on any issue within the jurisdiction of the City Council. Public appearances shall be limited to an aggregate total of 60 minutes, although we will be going over that this evening. No person shall speak more than once, and there is a limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Speakers present at the podium must state their name and city of residence and provide a speaker card. Members of the public shall refrain from making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks and from becoming boisterous while addressing the City Council or while attending the meeting. Speakers will be taken first come, first serve in the order in which the cards are received. Speakers choosing not to appear in person or virtually may provide their written comments to council prior to the meeting for their review. Speakers' visual aids and appearances by phone or recordings are not allowed. Council members are prohibited by state law from taking action on, commenting, or discussing a matter raised by a member of the public, even if asked to do so by a member of the public, so long as the subject discussed by the speaker is not listed as a specific agenda item for council's consideration for discussion and legal action. At the conclusion of public appearances, the council may ask the city manager to review a matter or place a matter on a future agenda. Quickly, I'll go, Madam City Attorney, would you like me just to go through the public appearances, or should I adjourn and go to the special budget meeting?
Mayor, I would recommend that you do go through the public appearances at this time.
Okay, sounds good. All right.
Remove the budget, so up to 50, and then this is a RC. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm gonna do them all at once. So I can combine them
Okay.
in order, yeah. Okay. Let me find the first one to make sure that we are going in order here. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right, the first card I have here for public appearances is for David Robinson II. Is Mr. Robinson here? Oh, there we go. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the city council.
All right, thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayors, the City Council, City Managers. My name is David Robinson, I'm the father of geologist Daniel Cornelius Robinson. My son, I met you before, Mayor. My son went missing in the city of Buckeye, Arizona, out there in the desert on June 23rd. My son is a resident of Tempe. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina. I came out here to search for my son. I've been out in Arizona since then, June 26th, searching for him. I conducted over 40-some weeks of searches, covered over 32,000 acres of land out there, all without the assistance of any law enforcement at all. Currently, my son had went missing, like I said, on June 23rd. His vehicle showed up almost 30 days later out there in that desert out there in Buckeye, Arizona, in the ravine, been found by a rancher. No forensic work has been done on the scene. I'm doing those forensic works myself. What I come here is to bring an acknowledgement to the city of Tempe, where my son is a resident of, asking, appealing to this council and to the city for help. I am not law enforcement, but I'm performing law enforcement work. I just want to make sure you guys can understand that. I've been here, like I said, since this time. I started the desert searches. I also have city distribution, where I have many citizens of Tempe and many citizens of Phoenix, Buckeye, all over Arizona are part of my searches. I have 1 here, 2 here. That's part of the searches. We conduct some searches here in Tempe, to the homeless shelters, to you name it, the hospitals here in Tempe. So my operations are here in Tempe. My operations in all the cities here in Arizona and all across the country. So I want to make sure you guys understand that I've been here locally and also nationally. My son's story is out there, and to this date, I have gotten no help from anybody, from city councils to you name it, anybody in law enforcement and higher up to help me in my searches for my son. I just want to make sure that I have the opportunity to speak that to you guys and to continue to reach out to y'all, somebody to come out there and try to help me again to find my son. Of course, I'm going to continue to fight. I'm going to continue to use my 48 seconds here, but I'm going to continue to fight for my son. I'm going to keep coming to you guys. As a resident, I'm stepping in the gap for my son. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina, of course, and now I'm a resident of Phoenix. My son, again, is a resident of Tempe. And I just want to make sure you guys look out for your citizen and help me find my son. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. City Manager? Can we follow up with Mr. Robinson after the meeting, just?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Thank you. Next up, we have Mike Halsum. Is Mike Halsum available? Okay, Mr. Halsum is not here. Okay, so I'm going to try to do this in order here. I've got numbers attached, so I'm going to now call, let's see, if speakers 3 through 8 could kind of get ready, speakers 3 through 8. I've just got a lot of cards. Speaker 3 is Aisha Groves. Please come forward and state your name and place of residence. And please no clapping, everyone, please. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
My name is Aisha Groves. I'm a resident of Mesa, Arizona. And I am here in solidarity with the directly impacted leadership of the People's Budget Tempe, who have put in a lot of labor to help you better understand what marginalized communities in Tempe need and want. based on direct interactions with the community and the survey of hundreds of residents whose voices are typically unheard or ignored. They have been present for every budget meeting and clearly let you know that these communities do not want 19 more police officer positions funded. You have completely ignored them and have been unwilling to even discuss the many valid arguments made against funding these positions. You say you want to improve engagement with the budget process, but when the people engage, you ignore them. Yes, we're glad that a Care 7 position is being funded. Yes, we're glad that you've been willing to discuss using contingency funds to pay for some of our smaller requests. But the great big elephant in the room of 19 new police positions just seems to be off limits for you. How can you continue to ignore this when only a couple of weeks ago, Sean Bickings was allowed by police to drown in the lake? They made no meaningful attempt to provide assistance, yet the department is all too happy to applaud themselves when police dive into the water without hesitation to save a dog. Supposedly, these 19 officers are going to be unbadged and provide crisis response. Sean Bickings was in a crisis situation, and the police were not only useless, but utterly violent with their inaction and their comments, all caught on video. How is reproducing 19 more of them and disguising them by removing their badges going to create better crisis response? There is already a non-police crisis response doing good work. Please continue to expand and improve them. More police are not needed, and they will continue to do harm like they did to Sean Bickings when they stood around and watched him die. If you really want to address crises, then prevent them by fully funding the 6 middle school mental health positions. Interns are great, but we need professional staff. Why are you nickel and diming essential services that promote the safety of young people? These funding requests are tiny in comparison to what you're willing to give police without even discussing it first. You know how hard kids have been hit by the pandemic and how difficult it can be for them to get support. Full funding of well-staffed youth mental health supports should be a given and should be permanent, yet you prioritize massive amounts of money going to police instead. Furthermore, the Climate Justice and Indigenous Land Steward Program Specialists and other sustainability staff positions fund the backyard garden and food forest programs, especially in lower income areas in Tempe that are becoming food deserts. When are you going to understand that investing in communities is how we create true safety? Or maybe you do understand that, but you just don't think certain people deserve safety. Do not fund these officer positions, invest in community.
Thank you. Next up, we have number 4, Christy Arnold. Next up, we have number 4, Christy Arnold. Is Christy Arnold here? Oh, yes. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hello, Christy Arnold. Sorry. Tempe, Arizona, Chair of Indian Bend Neighborhood. I'd like to address the Ramada Inn rezoning. I put in written form some 8 reasons I asked that council members would vote today to oppose the 65 dwelling units per acre in favor of 45. Putting realistic parameters and expectations at the start will make this process easier for everyone. About 8 reasons I'll run through quickly. Economic development has told us it does not have to be 65 units, and we were invited to recommend a lower density to the general plan at 45. It would just make more sense. Number 2, they asked us for our input, and we've given it to them. In 1 week's time, 36 residents representing over 10% of our neighborhood households have signed the change.org petition seeking to lower the density from 65 to 45. It's still climbing at 41. Number 3, it's highly unlikely to achieve anywhere close to a 65 density and have room for surface parking on the 3.14 acres. We will strongly oppose any additional traffic or parking in our neighborhood. Number 4, the maximum amount of units, height, traffic, all of this is an unknown, yet we're trying to secure the density of it. That's the only thing that will be sure. Again, securing a lower density will provide a more realistic and respected parameter that will benefit the future developer before they attain surveys and present a building plan. Number 5, thanks you for staying with me. The rezoning to attain the 65 density is flawed. Economic Develop gave us examples of the nearby Camden properties at Scottsdale and Curry. In fact, they were zoned at 65, but in fact finished at half that density. So all the current developments around us, including Banyan, which is in progress, are being achieved at a density of 30 to 37. On that note, number 6, we oppose a high-density allowance without those height restrictions. If a future Ramada property development can be had at similar calculations, which would be about 94 to 116 units, 3 stories tall, that could work. But right now, we fear the city has every inclination to achieve a higher density by height due to the lack of acreage that we have. They're just trying to do the impossible there. Number 7, members of the Development Review Commission have expressed concern about the higher density, citing that developers will say, well, that's the rezoning that they gave us, so we're not going to be able to walk this back once it happens. Another member also recommended, quote, scaling with the neighborhood and lowering the density to 45. So your own Economic Development and Development Review Commission, we're all on the same page. And number 8, those initiating the process are also in favor of lowering the density to 45. I've spoken with Mr. Lane Caraway, who was instrumental in approaching mayor and council about upzoning the properties due to blight concerns, and he is also in favor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, next up, we have person number 5, Talia Fuentes Wolf, followed by Jacob Brayford. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hello, my name is Talia Fuentes Wolf. I am a 3rd-generation Arizona native. I do live here in Tempe at McClintock and Southern. I've done work in developing nations like South Africa, Nicaragua, Australia. I was actually elected as the Democratic nominee in Congressional District 5. When I was 7 years old, I was actually saved by the police, and it was something I can never forget. However, after 16 years of living in Tempe and choosing to raise my 16-year-old son here, I have seen a drastic shift in the culture within our police force, how they interact with us, the public. The stories about our officers shifted from one that serves and protects to a department that shoots on command. Right now, currently, as we are speaking, Tempe police are training their officers with electric shocks, inputting neurological responses that lead to a higher victim count. I'm someone who understands the importance of these neurological responses, having suffered a traumatic brain injury in 2018. I think it's important that the council is made aware that when we Google our homes in Tempe, the first thing that comes up is the Tempe police and their treatment of Sean Bickings. I said I once supported the police, but I do not support the killing of our citizens, because that's what's happening. The book on police training must change, and the police training must change, and Tempe can set a countrywide example because they are all looking at us. When a police officer is putting shock training above basic water safety, we must stop and question their priorities. Being raised in Arizona, we are taught that a child can drown in 1 inch of water. One of the first things people should learn when coming to Arizona is water safety. I spent 10 years swimming competitively, and every year we had to go through the same annoying water safety training because it matters, and it actually saves lives. This isn't something that costs money. This isn't a budget issue. This is about if the people of Tempe matter, and we are humans too. Thank you.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Next up, we have Jacob Rayford, followed by Lee Christian. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address to the council.
All right, my name is Jacob Brayford. I am a resident of Maricopa County. Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Jacob Brayford once again. In the past 2 years, I've spent the overwhelming majority of my time addressing the misconduct of Phoenix Police and the policies, departments, unions, and council seats which aid in a disproportionate targeting of marginalized communities. A city that unilaterally decides our fate to the detriment of so many impacted families, all in the guise of democracy. Our communities are and have been systemically engineered to be voiceless. And as we found our individual voice as representatives of those communities, we used it as a conduit for our neighborhoods. It has been an arduous uphill battle to push for equity just a few miles from here. And that is the reason why this is my first appearance at Tempe City Council. Now, while this city is nowhere near where it needs to be as far as problematic policing goes for one, I have always considered it to be a progressive sister city. My time on the Public Safety Advisory Task Force, the opportunity to challenge a dangerous police force, as well as a municipal system looking to change, I saw it as a good sign. But here we are, in the wake of yet another loss of life, something entirely preventable had the city and the police department it oversees listened to the community. City Council, what we witnessed at Tempe Town Lake was one of the most heartless displays of inhumanity I've seen from a police department since George Floyd. We witnessed officers surround an innocent Black man, a loved man known by this council, by this city, by his community, therefore a public figure, and accost him, intimidate him with threats to run warrants. We listened to officers patronize him for being houseless once he divulged where he resides. An officer scoffingly said, "That's not his residence." They mocked his clothes, condescending tones. For officers supposedly trained to read body language, they continued to confront this innocent man while he was clearly anxious and falling further into a state of distress. They bullied him into unconscionably deciding to cross a river to get away from a very real threat, as history and present day examples continuously show us. And instead of rendering aid, they deliberately allowed him to place himself in harm's way. They watched as he swam further into the depths of a near 20-foot deep river. They watched with indifference as this man recognized the danger he was in and began requesting assistance. They directly told him they were not going to help him. They heard him say he was drowning. They heard him call to God. They casually told this man pleading for his life in his final moment that he wasn't going to drown. People kayak across that river all the time. Just recently, officers assisted a citizen pulling a dog out of the water, an animal, a pet. They refused to render aid and prevent loss of life, spurred by their own actions. They physically barred his loved one from going to save a human life. On top of him experiencing a horrific death, his final moments was to apathetic officers in action and the screams of a loved one helplessly begging to save his life while officers shushed her. His targeting and mistreatment is emblematic of classism, racism, and a stratification of the value of life. Their presence is reflective of a police community that operates like an occupying force. This is why we cannot continue to increase a police budget and increase an issue. And we need to, let me just put the paper aside. We have been talking to y'all for months, for a year at this point, that you do not need, that the police department does not need to engage the houseless community, people who experience behavioral health. This is problematic, and we are tired of it. You need to treat behavioral resources as a first responder department. That is my time. We need to create a first responder department that treats this with care, with concern, and not people who stratify individuals based off where they come from and what they look like. Please take this into consideration. We're tired of seeing people die because of inaction. My name is Jacob Brayford.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. Thank you. Next up, we have Lee Christian, followed by Dr. Sarah Toccola. And I think Lee is virtual. Yes.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Yeah, my name is Lee Percy Christian III, and I am a citizen of the city of Tempe. I have been organizing with the Tempe's People's Budget for the past year and a half. We have been giving reports to city council members, to the city of Tempe. We have talked to council members. We have talked to people within city staff and have constantly over and over advised for you all not to fund the police department. It started with equity in action, and it's been continued through the people's budget. And this has been nothing but a show of just theatrics. You all do not care about the community. You all are just giving us a sign or just crumbs to make us feel as if you care. But obviously you don't. Because if you cared, you would listen to the community who has told you over and over again that we do not need more police officers. You have assigned a task force, Antonio Arce, Dalvin Hollins, and now most recently, Mad Rocks multiple times over and over again. Your police officers, the people that you employ, Mayor Corey Woods, you all are you all have the opportunity to make changes. You continue to have these opportunities and you continue to do nothing. Your complicity is just as bad as the complicit officers who sat there and watched Mad Rocks drown in Tempe Town Lake. And I hope you understand, and I really hope Mayor Corey, if you spoke to him just within the week of the time that he passed away, I really hope you can understand how deeply hurt the community is because this was a good person within the community. And I hope that you all can have some type of empathy and some type of understanding because your complicity has caused this level of violence and neglect within the community. And we are tired of it. We're sick of seeing it. We're sick of dealing with it. And when are you going to make the changes to actually listen to the community? It's that simple. But you choose not to. You would rather fund a lot of other things that don't have anything to do with the needs of the community. You care more about getting sports teams into the city. You care more about repairing your highways. You care more about things that just pad your pockets. But you don't care about the hearts of the community. And I'm tired of it. I've been organizing for the past 2 years in this city. And I cannot believe after report, meeting after meeting, you all are literally going to do the exact opposite of what your community has asked for you. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Mr. Christian. Next up, we have Dr. Sarah Toccola, followed by Keisha Acton, and they are both virtual.
Virtual, but there's no mic next to it. So there's no sound.
Okay. Let me then go to Keisha and see if I can come back to Sarah then. Is Keisha Acton available?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Keisha. You have 3 minutes to address the City Council. Just state your name and place of residence.
Great. My name is Keisha. I'm a former resident of Tempe and a leader in the Tempe People's Budget. Today, I would like to address the mayor and council directly regarding the levels of disrespect and gaslighting you have shown Mad Rocks and our community today and throughout this entire budget process. And let me be clear. When I say our community, what I mean is the entire group of people currently sitting in your chambers and outside, literally begging to be seen, heard, and valued by the people sitting here in these comfy chairs who have been elected to represent and support the residents of Tempe. However, instead of listening to the members of the community who are literally sleeping on the streets, being displaced from their homes, and needing the most resources, the mayor and several of the city's department leaders sat in monthly meetings with us, placating and wasting our time and energy by pretending to be on board with making significant changes to the way safety is done in Tempe. Corey, you assembled an entire task force to make it seem as though you were interested in a new way. You lied to our faces, stating that you too wanted to reimagine public safety, while all the while making plans behind our backs to increase the surveillance in low-income communities in the form of community policing. And now you and your council are sitting here comfortable with the budget, a budget that reflects a complete contradiction to the lies you fed us. So as the first Black mayor of Tempe, either you are uninterested in actually transforming the city, or you simply lack imagination and would rather kneel to the pocketbooks of developers and donors than to push the limits and enforce people over property or restoration over punishment. The Tempe Police Department is out of control, and the city has no business funding them any further. On May 28th, your officers literally made fun of Mad Rocks, a man experiencing homelessness, and then stood by and watched him drown without a single attempt to save his life, while just a few days prior, they bragged about saving a dog from a canal. That's safety?
All right,
This is what
please,
I
please
call
no
a
clapping. I want to make sure we
disgrace.
hear it.
That's what you call safety? That is what I call a disgrace to humanity. Then you sit here and pretend to care about Madrox and the conditions in which he was living, but it's fake. And the level of disrespect for the lives of Black and brown people that PD has displayed in its actions attests to the larger racist culture of policing present in Tempe, in the Tempe Police Department. This department in no way needs to be funded with an additional $2.5 million on top of its already bloated budget of $100 million. This city needs to block the budget, and more money needs to be reallocated to community resources such as Care 7 and other organizations out there actually doing the work to help the people on the streets.
And Keisha,
Not more racist and
I give you another 30 seconds.
don't value the lives of Black and brown people. Hey, I'm here too. Sarah Toccola is also here. I'll pass
Okay,
to Sarah.
sounds good. Thank you. Dr. Toccola?
I'm a member of the People's President and BLM. Y'all know who I am.
Yeah, that's her.
We've been working with you in the past 2 years. We were a member of the public safety.
Dr. Toccola, you're breaking up a little bit. Oh, that's Dr. Toccola. I know. Yeah. Dr. Toccola, can you hear me? Yeah, she's with Miss Acton. Yes. Mhm.
Hello, can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you now. Yes, please go ahead. You can start over. 3 minutes. Yes.
As a member of Equity in Action and the Public Safety Task Force, I feel like I have sincerely wasted my time. What is the point of a partnership if we're going to be gaslit? For months, we asked you for the staffing study, Corey, and for months you told us you would get it and you didn't. And the reason we see now, because we had to learn about the staffing study when the budget dropped, that you were hiding your plan to hire 19 more officers. What is the point of working with community if you're just going to gaslight us? You see, this is a problem with these neoliberal who don't intend to actually change, but you want to use words like transforming the budget and transforming public safety and equity. This isn't equity or anything if you're just going to continue to ignore the community. And here's the thing. We know that you've changed your process when other groups with more power, with like developers and more powerful entities, you have changed course, but you have refused to address or change your allocation of the police while your human services and sustainability departments are starving. Time and time again, they have to cut staff, and yet meanwhile, you're going to fund an overhire program so you can overhire police while the Care 7 doesn't even have enough crisis response unit. Essentially, at this point, you've broken the trust in the community, and you're not who you say you are. Because at the end of the day, funding 19 more officers, which you all chose to do, you have chosen which side you stand on. In less than a month after your own cops killed a homeless Black man, you choose to fund 19 more officers. This is going to create a rupture in the community, and until you change your behavior and your actions, we cannot trust you.
Thank you, Dr. Toccola. Next up, Please, no clapping, no clapping. I gotta get through the list. There's a lot of folks here. Next up, we have Taylor Fisher, followed by April McHugh. And I think Taylor is virtual.
Hear me?
Yes, yeah, please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
My name is Taylor Fisher, and I'm a resident of Tempe, Arizona. And I just want to say that it's interesting that organizations like Care7, who are actually trained and experienced in providing crisis response, can barely get one new position funded. Police paying $250,000 in new overtime pay for new positions for 19 new officer positions, plus $2.5 million to create a new unit of friendly unarmed cops, the same cops that murdered Maverick just 2 weeks ago, and the same cops that have been murdering and harassing the people of Tempe for years. Make it make sense and stop giving money to the police.
Thank you, Taylor. Next up, we have April McHugh, and then I have a card to read into the record. April's not in the audience? Okay. All right, I have one comment to read into the record in order here, then I'm going to go to the other cards I received in person. This card is from Kim D'Artez, representing the Governor's Commission of African American Affairs. It says, the commission supports the efforts of Chief Glover and hopes the 21st century policing policies and practices can be repeated throughout departments within the entire state. We believe healing for both communities and police officers can take place. We do not wish to abolish the police force, and the political message of BLM does not represent Black America. We are confident that city manager, I'm just reading the card. We are confident that City Manager Andrew Ching and Chief Glover will continue to serve the citizens of Tempe with honor and transparency. Okay. Next up, next two cards I have Alex Monty, followed by Jack Maverick. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the City Council.
Hi guys, my name is Alex Monty. I'm a lifetime resident of City of Tempe. I'm a 5th generation resident of the Valley. And I've also worked with some of you on the Sustainability Commission for 2.5, 3 years, back in 2015 to 2018. And I feel that this budget is a betrayal of your citizens. And we came here 2 years ago. We've been asking that you defund the police. And so this is something that I feel very passionate about. And I don't think that some of these folks are aware that a couple weeks ago at Frank Elementary, which is right by my house, there was an escalation of a situation which led to the death of a man by Tempe police. I have not been able to find his name because there was only one report on this. It was called Unnamed Man in the report. And this happened because there was a man who was in distress, suffering from some kind of behavioral issues outside of Frank Elementary in Guadalupe. And the police showed up and sent their drones, their little toys, to provoke this man and put their sharpshooters on top of the school. If you have an armed man who is in distress, the last thing that you want him doing is pointing his weapon at a school full of elementary students. And the only reason that I know about this is because the father of my children is a teacher there and was stuck on the ground with 60 students for 2 hours waiting for SWAT or someone to come and tell them that it was safe. When they heard the gunshots from the sharpshooters above them, and they heard the stomping in the hallways of the SWAT team, they assumed it was an active shooter in their school, because that's what we teach our students in Tempe. We teach them active shooter drills. How do we have the budget and the time and the resources to be doing, active shooter drills at every single school? And we say that we care about our citizens with mental health issues, yet we approach them with drones, with assault rifles, and instead of de-escalating the situation as the Tempe police has said that they are committed to doing, we provoke the situation. There was no Care7 for this man. So I just wanted to make you all aware of the situation. This was only a couple weeks ago. And my name is Alex, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jack Maverick, followed by KWok. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
What's up, guys? I'm Jack Maverick. I live here in Tempe. This August will be my 20th year in Tempe. I own a house in South Tempe, so I know my opinion doesn't matter too much to you North Tempeans, but you know, I was on the phone 2 years ago in the middle of the pandemic, asking you guys to defund the police, asking you guys to not increase their budget. Corey, I remember you were talking about putting together a commission and you were going to work with the police. A lot of us felt pretty betrayed by that. And here we are 2 years later, and it's like none of those conversations, none of that stuff ever happened. And it's really disappointing. So I want to know, because I know tonight you guys are going to pass the budget. We're going to get 19 more officers who don't give a crap about any of us. And it's going to be a big disappointment. So how many times do we have to come down here and have these conversations? Because we'll 10, we'll come for 10, 11, 12. But it just seems like you guys want to waste our time, waste our efforts, listen to us and nod your head and make sincere faces like you care. And then we leave, and it's the same stuff. And it's been the same stuff for years. And what's crazy to me is I just got married in August to Alex, who just spoke. And the night before our wedding, someone came and stole a generator that we were going to use for the wedding. And of course, we had to call the police. And the police's first instinct is to lie to us. I made a joke to one of the officers. I said, "Oh, don't you have one of those drones flying around? You could just see who took our generator." And he goes, "We don't have any drones." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I know they just approved a budget for a bunch more drones." And he goes, "You follow the city budget?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, yeah, we do actually have the most amount of drones per officer in the country." So, I mean, their first instinct is to lie to people. And you want 19 more of them? We're not safe on those streets with those cops. We're not safe with those motorcycle cops with their AR-15s on the back of the bike for everybody to see. It's a police state out there, guys, and you want 19 more of them? It's embarrassing. Have a nice day.
No clapping. I just got to get through all these. KWok, next followed by Lim Huggins. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Kelly. I'm from Phoenix. I'm here to speak on behalf of White People Against White Supremacy, a local collective of white folks fighting systems of oppression alongside and an accountability to BIPOC leaders. As part of the People's Budget Initiative, we've been meeting with the city of Tempe for over a year and a half. You're hearing it over and over. The BIPOC-led group of volunteer organizers have spent countless hours participating in task forces, meeting the department heads, with manager's office, members of council, and the mayor himself to present ideas of how and what to change. We've educated them, we gathered community data, we participated in every operating budget special city council meeting, even though Councilmember Arredondo Savage was ready to approve the budget with no more discussion at only second of 4 public meetings. We did all of that for what? So that the mostly white liberal members of staff and council can say that after the 2020 uprisings, they met with BIPOC leaders and they listened. Shame on you for wasting our time. What a performance to mislead BIPOC leadership working for real public safety. It's clear you had zero intention to rise above the worst of your conservative counterparts. The only difference is your theatrics, that you waste the time and energy of people actually willing to enact intelligent, compassionate, and community-informed change. You are no better if you let this violence continue, if you're not actively fighting for real change. You are just as anti-Black, anti-poor, and pro-cop as they are. You are just as blameworthy. The blood on Tempe PT's hands is on your hands too while you continue to invest in cops over mental health support, housing, food security, and climate relief. How dare you say you have listened to us and then turn around and spend $2.5 million to unfreeze 19 new police positions? How dare you say you've listened to us and then advocate for community policing? Community policing is not change, it's the status quo without a uniform. Tempe PD proved this week they don't need a badge to murder a community member. Unbadged or not, police are a problem in our city, meant to surveil, not protect folks who are struggling. Members of council and other liberal leaders in our city are satisfied with this warped, white version of public safety. They're satisfied with a perception of safety for well-off people that depends on violence against those who are already struggling the most. I like to believe that all people have the capacity to rise above and subvert harmful systems, even if they're privileged by them. We as an initiative tried to believe that Tempe leadership could, but they're proving yet again that they won't.
Thank you. Next up, we have Lim Huggins, followed by Kim Stravers. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello there, my name is Lim Huggins. I'm a lifelong Tempe resident. And I wanted to bring up that it seems to be that there's a pattern happening here. A lot of people mentioned that 2 years ago that they were reaching out to a lot of the leaders here who are still here about BLM, about a lot of the tragedies that transpired across the United States. I know a year before that, a lot of us were here for Antonio Arce, once again looking at a lot of similar faces. And I remember it was at that meeting, that many of us were also brutalized by the police in an encounter that happened outside the meeting as the city council fled into their chambers to hide from the public opinion of how we all felt, which was extremely cowardly. And I remember after the meeting, many city council members coming up, promising change, saying how much they were affected by the murder of Antonio Arce. And I see a lot of these people still here today who haven't done anything and are still proposing to increase the police budget. I know far too many people who've been brutalized by the Tempe police. Myself, my father, many of my good friends, and I don't think any of us were deserving of it. I don't think anyone is deserving of it. And it's sad to see, but when I see the police nowadays, I know them as to be a roaming gang, immune from their own police. There's no policing of police officers. They're a gang that goes and spreads violence, hate, mistrust in the community, who seeks to disrupt actual community action. And they take up the budget and they use their funding and their resources to blackmail and blackball people in city leadership. Almost everyone here on the city council receives police money, receives police endorsements. And that's the reason why the police budget keeps going up, because their pockets are lined, their ability to run is determined by the police unions and not by the citizens. So there will be no accountability until that changes. Now, I would like to shout out some of the people who have made a positive impact in my life who are also working for the city of Tempe. I am very strongly connected to Adrian Casio, who is the MIAC advisor currently, or to Micah Corporal, who's the former youth librarian of the Tempe Library, to my high school psychologist. These are all the people who protected me and served me, and I believe that these are all the people who deserve the millions of dollars that are going to the police. All of those people actually serve to build up this community, and they're not getting the funding they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up we have Kim Stravers, followed by Gilbert Cruz. Kim Stravers. Oh, there we go. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Hello, council members. My name is Kim Stravers. I'm a resident of Phoenix, but a frequent contributor to the City of Tempe's tax revenue as a patron of local businesses. I often visit friends, family, and colleagues in Tempe, and I'm personally invested in the decisions that you make around spending when it comes to the safety and well-being of people that I care about. As you consider approving the fiscal year budget tonight, I invite you to think about your blatant hypocrisy. Since the 2020 uprisings sparked nationally by the murder of George Floyd, Tempe has put a lot of effort into joining the conversation. However, that's all that's really been accomplished. Lots of circular discussion about how to deprioritize the presence of and spending on police, but not much in the way of on-the-ground changes to how Tempe and its police department actually operate. What you framed as initiatives, such as Equity in Action and the Public Safety Task Force, have really been hollow invitations to the public to participate in a supposedly democratic process that goes nowhere. We show up, we do as you ask, we share lived experiences that support the recommendations we make about how to reinvest funding and lessen the city's reliance on and love affair with cops, and then those suggestions get filed away as a box you get to check for having done us the high honor of listening to the community. Changing the way the public perceives Tempe's relationship to police is not the same thing as changing the way Tempe funds and deploys that department. Optics are not action. Lip service is not service. You cannot invest public money, time, and energy into an alternatives to police project, then turn around and increase the number of police officers. Those are opposing actions that leave us worse off than we were when we started. By saying yes to 19 more cops after asking the people of Tempe what they want, you are further eroding public trust. Hundreds of people have told you that more police causes more harm, not less, and yet that plea is ignored time and again. By repeatedly saying that you're comfortable with the budget as it is, you're really telling us that you're comfortable cushioning your relationship with pro-police donors and other supporters to whom you owe some sort of a political back scratch. You're not acting as public servants when you don't do what those who elected you have asked you to do over and over again. If you care at all about making good on your promises as a self-proclaimed famously free-thinking city, something you literally call yourselves during the pre-recorded message we have to listen to when we call your offices, you'll take action tonight to reject the bloated spending on 19 police officers and invest that money instead in social programs and staff that improve quality of life at its root. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Gilbert Cruz, followed by Sandra Ojeda. Gilbert Cruz? No? Okay. Then I'll go next to Sandra Ojeda, and then followed by Joel Cornejo.
I will translate her.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hola. Como comunidad migrante de color y pobre,
As a migrant person of color,
tenemos que ser reconocidos en el desarrollo de esta ciudad por nuestro duro trabajo.
we need to be recognized when in the development of the city because of our work.
Y tener una comida y vivienda libre.
And to have food and be able to live
De desalojo por su racismo.
without being worried about being displaced because of the racism.
Donde podamos ir a trabajar y regresar seguros a casa.
Where we can go to work and safely come back to our homes.
Sabiendo que tenemos suficientes alimentos en nuestro hogar.
Knowing that we have enough food in our homes.
Y podamos descansar en un lugar con suficiente espacio.
And that we can rest in a house.
Donde nuestros hijos tengan un futuro mejor.
Where our children can have a better future.
Sin preocuparse que podrían morir de hambre o ser asesinados por la policía.
Without worrying about dying of hunger or being killed by the police department.
Defund the police.
Defund the police.
No necesitamos más policías.
We don't need more police officers.
Necesitamos hogares para nuestros vecinos desamparados.
We need homes for our unsheltered neighbors
Que ustedes han puesto a vivir en las calles.
that you have displaced and put in the streets.
Alto al desplazamiento de nuestros alimentos y nuestras comunidades.
Stop the displacement of our food and our communities.
Alto de asesinatos.
Stop from killing us.
Descansa en paz Antonio Arce, David Hollins y Matt Rocks.
Rest in peace, Antonio Arce, Devon Hollins, and Matt Rocks.
La sangre está en sus manos.
The blood is in your hands.
Stop. Please no clapping, please. We just got to get through everyone. Joel, you are next.
Yes. Is it okay for me to translate this in Spanish afterwards?
Absolutely, yes.
A couple years ago, we came and asked you all as community to defund the police. We told you that the community doesn't want more police officers
and we were told that we needed data, that we needed research. This year, we came in after meeting with you all over a year, working on a people's budget, having data, and we had a proposed budget that y'all threw to the trash. Another of our community members has been killed, has been taken by your police department. Now we're here to remind you what should be your priority. The community, not the police. We must fund the barrio, and we need the money to do it. Why are you taking that away from us? We need the money to defend our barrios. Fund the barrios by making sure that we keep Don Filos and Hajibaba open, by funding our trailer parks, and by making sure that our families are the ones actually moving into the housing projects already ongoing, like the one already being developed in Food City. Those are the right things to do. Giving more money to the police is not. We need more money. We need the money. How many more community members have to die for you to stop giving more money to the police? You funding the police, it's a huge stain in your legacy, Corey. And I have to say, you know, I lost trust, but I still have hopes that y'all can block the budget and actually put our community members in front of the process. Some of you have told me that there's laws that force you to sign the budget today. But if you don't mind getting sued for the Coyote Stadium, why not block the budget and hear the people out? Let's do it. Let me translate real quick.
Yes.
Unos años atrás venimos como comunidad a decir que la comunidad no ocupaba más policías, no queríamos más policías en nuestros vecindarios, y ustedes nos dijeron que ocupábamos datos, que ocupábamos investigación. Este año venimos con datos, después de un año de juntarnos con ustedes, y trajimos un presupuesto que ustedes completamente tiraron a la basura. Ahora otro miembro de nuestra comunidad ha sido arrebatado por su departamento de policía. Ahora estamos aquí para recordarles cuál debe de ser su prioridad. La comunidad, no la policía. Tenemos que invertir en el barrio y ocupamos ese dinero para hacerlo. ¿Por qué nos estás quitando ese dinero? Invertir en nuestro barrio, invierta en nuestro barrio, asegurando que Don Filos, que Haji Baba sigan funcionando y sigan abiertos, invirtiendo en los parques de tráiler, asegurando que nuestras familias sean las que realmente se muevan en los proyectos de viviendas que ya están en desarrollo, como en el que están desarrollando en el Food City. Eso es lo correcto que hacer. Dándole más a la policía de dinero no es una de ellas. Necesitamos más dinero. ¿Cuántos más miembros de nuestra comunidad tienen que morir? Hasta dándoles más dinero a la policía es una mancha muy grande en el legado de usted, alcalde. Yo perdí completamente la confianza, pero tengo una esperanza que ustedes van a hacer lo correcto y van a parar el presupuesto. Muchos de ustedes, algunos de ustedes me dijeron que hay leyes que los forzan a que tienen que firmar hoy el presupuesto, pero si a ustedes no les importa que los demanden para construir el estadio de Coyotes, ¿por qué no bloquear este presupuesto y escuchar a la gente? Gracias.
Thank you. Next up we have Jewel Valenzuela, followed by Darian Barrett. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Joel Valenzuela. I'm a resident of Tempe, the city of Tempe. I'm also a public school teacher, and I just can't believe that you are funding more money to the police when you already know in our communities that the things that happened prior. We need mental health specialists for our young people. We need the money to also to keep spending it how you do in the community with the swimming pool. I was over there at Escalante Park. I seen lifeguards. I seen that the little children had the Tempe Diablo lifesavers on, and as a young person, I was also a lifeguard, so I'm really distraught of what happened here in our community with Mad Rocks. So I like that it's funded for the young adults, the mental health. Your police officers have no idea how the cognitive brain works, how our black and brown people, we have trauma. When we see police, our fight or flight response kicks in. If I pull into a park and I see a policeman there on his motorcycle with the AR-15, I just turn around and go to another park because it's safer for me somewhere else. And then we also know that Madrox, his fight or flight response kicked in, and who wants to be treated like that by police officers? Also, when I was at the pool, why is there a police officer there? Why is he walking around with his gun on the police deck? So I was just having the greatest time swimming. I was teaching some other young kids how to swim. Oh, we don't know how to do that. Okay, hey, this is what you do to do this stroke. Then all of a sudden it's ruined with the police officer walking around with a gun just because there happened to be a party, and of course it's black and brown people, and he has to go. Why is there a police officer with a gun in the deck in a pool where there's kids and children and families having a good time? We're over policed. I can't even go there to get away from them, you know? And he has a bad attitude. There's nothing like, hi, how are you doing today? Just nothing. It's just like that's over policing. Over policing, it's killjoy. I don't want to go there again. I don't want to see a police when I'm swimming. They have no business there. And our community deserves better than that. They deserve mental health. What happened in Guadalupe also, all you did is you traumatized them to fight by putting a drone on them.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Darian Barrett, followed by, I believe, Seth Golden. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Darian Barrett. I'm a resident of Tempe. I'm gonna start off with releasing 3 names, and these names are gonna be the officers who are complicit in the death of Mad Rocks. We have Jeffrey Gebby, Brian Berman, and Officer Kay Bennett. These officers do not care about public safety. Public safety is heroism. Officer safety is cowardice. Why did Gabby not stop Mad Rocks from climbing over that railing? Why did the officers continue to harass Mad Rocks and Susan after Susan addressed to your officers that there was no physical altercation? Your officers responded absent of a crime. When they found out that it was absent of a crime, they should have left. There's no reason to run their names for warrants absent of a crime. Mad Rock should not have died of a warrant from 2017. He met with you, Corey, to help his people get out of the river bottom. He met with you to see how he could squash warrants in his city. 2 days later, he's dying. He died during a warrant check. You are complicit as well, Corey. And I hate to say that. I know you're better. We need these officers fired and charged complicit. We need you guys to reallocate these funds that are going to fund 19 more officers and put in life-saving devices around all large bodies of water that people congregate around. I am willing to reach out my hand to the city of Tempe in finding ways to bring these life-saving devices so we don't have another situation like Mad Rocks. Your officers, they have no life-saving devices in their vehicles. You guys have a police department right here, literally half a mile away from this body of water. We have 2 large bodies of water within 4 miles of this area. One half a mile and one 4 miles, Kiwanis Park. There is no life-saving devices anywhere. Why did why did your officers not detain Madrox when they saw him going into a restricted area, which is the lake? If you are not allowed to be in the lake, cancel the Ironman. Cancel the Ironman, stop people from being allowed to stand up and kayak out there. Because a life vest doesn't necessarily mean that they're gonna, exit that water with their life. Madrox should be alive today. Fire Gabby, fire Berman, and fire Bennett.
Next up, we have Seth Golden, followed by Casey Deaton.
My name is Casey Deaton. I'm currently a resident of Phoenix. I was formerly homeless in Tempe, and I'm an Arizona native. I sat next to Madrox in that meeting with you and other people in this building, people out here, everyone. Thank you for saying those names, because the lack of a human's life, just like no care, just because he's homeless. Saying that the art center was not a place of residence. Wearing skinny jeans because he's got medical problems. Recent studies show that, what? It's like, and I can't get over it, Corey. We were right there 2 days before this. And how are we gonna create a homeless outreach team when cops are killing our homeless outreach team? Right? So, and me personally, before getting housing, thankfully to the city's efforts and the funding, got me housing. During that time, I am trespassed from this park, 6th Street Park. I'm trespassed from Brickyard until the day that I signed my lease. That morning I signed my lease, I was trespassed from 6th Street Park and Brickyard. I'm also trespassed from Tempe Beach Park, the northeast corner of Ruling University. Ruling University. I'm trespassed from so many places here in Tempe, and it's because I'm harassed by the police. I'm trespassed from the 143 freeway. I'm trespassed from a handful of locations here in Tempe because I was harassed by the police. I mean, if anything, if you're going to hire and get 19 new officers, make sure it's some competent ones who have, a concern for a human who is drowning, saying, please help me, I'm drowning. Madrock's last words were, can you hear me? So that is what I'm saying to you guys. Do not fund the police. Put that money into Care 7 and crisis lines that I had to call in order to deal with the death of Madrox. Not only was he afraid of police officers, it's the entire system. The police officer, we asked how he could go about clearing his name or whatever wrongdoing. The cop said, well, if it was up to me, it'd be this way and that way, but it's not up to me. It's up to the courts. They're all in cahoots. The courts and the cops, they're all in cahoots. So, I mean, how is there no solution? And his death makes me want to advocate even more, so I will continue going to those meetings.
Absolutely. Thank you. Next up, I have Charles Anthony Seiler, followed by Jim Freedom. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Mayor Woods and council. My name is Charles Seiler. I am a resident of Tempe. Many have come before you already and said things better than I will say, so I'll be succinct, and I'm sure that many will come after and say things better. What I want to say is our unhoused neighbors shouldn't be chased by cops. They should be embraced by social services and strong support networks in our community. Tempe's police are a continual source of national embarrassment to the city, something no one can say about any other municipal department. So why are we going to give them more funding? I recognize that the City Council has a strong interest in economic development of the city, but how are we going to attract people to invest in this city when we expand a violent police force with our limited resources? The police provide little more than a veneer of safety while violently upholding white supremacy in this sundown town. If the council is unwilling to divert these funds to support stronger services, the least that you could do is make the community safer by hiring more lifeguards. You already have an aquatic program, and lifeguards actually put themselves at risk to help other people. I hope that you recognize this as an opportunity to demonstrate to the community that their voices matter to you. And I'm not asking for special treatment when I say this. I canvassed hundreds of houses for you, Mayor Woods, and I would hope that you could make me proud to do that in the future and not disappointed that I helped elect someone who wants to expand a violent police force that does harm to the community. So please do the right thing, listen to the people, and actually do a good service to the community by providing solid support. I yield my time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Next up, Jim Freedom, followed by Dr. Dawn Pennant-Thacker.
Hello, thank you very much for allowing me to speak. My name is Jim Freedom, former resident of Tempe, actually, and I probably won't use my whole 3 minutes. I'll be very quick. First thing I wanted to say, I want to make it very clear, and I know everybody else here already knows this, but I want to personally have said to each of you that the transcript that you released is not transparency. That's step number one. You guys should have released the video already. That's literally what body cams are for, so that the people can see unequivocally what happened in these situations, in these extreme situations, or whatever you want to call them. You know what I mean? It's a horrible thing that happened, but that's why the body cameras exist, so that we can see what happened. Not you tell us under the cover of a transcript, which can be misworded, you know, words can be translated differently, etc. You know what the point I'm trying to make here. That's what body cameras are for. We should have the video already. We shouldn't have to be here begging you for it, period. Second thing I wanted to say, demanding is what a child does when they're throwing a tantrum. We are commanding you as your superiors to release this footage. Be honest, be transparent, do what you know you're supposed to do, and release the video. Each one of you, every single person who has any power over anything, should feel individually compelled to do everything they can to get this video released. If you have any integrity whatsoever, that's what you would feel compelled to do as each individual human being up here. If you don't, in my opinion, I won't even tell you what I think, because you'll probably just say I'm too boisterous and kick me out. Let's see. In the Army, we had a saying that was said a lot to me: police the area. That means to go around the area looking for trash to throw away. That's the problem. The police see society as a bunch of trash, and they prowl around the city looking for people to trespass and people to violate the constitutional rights of, so that they can generate their revenue and call themselves good guys. That's not how it's supposed to work. They're not supposed to police the area looking for trash, looking at us as people as trash. They feel like we're trash. That's why the dog got saved, but the person didn't. The dog's an innocent being, so I gotta feel compelled to jump in. But the Maverick situation, he felt like, well, he jumped in, it's his own fault. He has no compassion whatsoever for a human being in that situation, which is wrong in my opinion, and they should be fired. Again, lastly, if you had any integrity at all, you would release the footage and you would downvote this ridiculous budget. That's all I have to say. Jim Freedom, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, actually, Councilmember Cubie.
And I wonder if I can do this, but Mr. City Manager, can you explain why the full video was not released?
They said it's too graphic.
No.
Too graphic,
No,
Hold on, let him answer, please.
It's pertinent to what he said. So.
Right. There was about a 5-minute clip that was not released due to the sensitive nature.
Oh, come on.
Now look at this. Look at this. They release officer-involved shootings all the damn time.
Sir.
We see people get shot and they can't
Sir, please. Please, let me get to the next speaker here. Dr. Thacker, please. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the City Council.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. As you all know, I live and work in our city. My children go to our public schools. And as you also know, I have been a cheerleader for our city. I have served on the library board, the industrial development board, and the civilian police review board, each for multiple terms since moving back after the Army in 2005. I regularly participate and vocally promote our amenities, events, and values. Full disclosure, you all know this, I've also donated to, volunteered for, and helped elect almost all of you several times over. So it is my love and commitment to this city and my hope in you that I come here tonight to say that we have had enough. It has been enough of the Tempe Police Department's culture of misconduct, negligence, abuse of power, and murder of 14-year-old Antonio Arce, who was shot in the back by our police, and most recently Sean Bickings, who was murdered by a refusal to aid. I am continually horrified both by their behavior and, frankly, I have grown horrified by this body for your lack of meaningful action, by the shrugging of shoulders, hiding behind plea, and refusal to see a budget as a moral document. I recognize there are some things you can't do, but there is so much that you could do and should do and must. And not next year, not after some study that we all know the results of. Now, immediately, in your next vote. We need culture change, we need job changes, we need massive budget refusals and reallocations to social services, mental health care, and community services that we actually need. We need you to hold the department accountable, to show us, your residents, that you actually care, that our police force is a national embarrassment for their failures and abuses and a menace to too many in our community. I wish we were all so lucky to be a dog in the city of Tempe. But since we're not, I am calling on you to do everything in your power to reallocate these funds, protect and respect your residents' values and lives, not the bare minimum, everything in your power. And we know that's a lot. You know we know. It is fully feasible if there's just the will to do it. And I hope that you will. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stacker. Appreciate it. Next up, we have Matthew Chrysler, followed by Tony Hassan. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Chrysler. I'm a resident of Tempe, and hopefully this will be brief. I'm here to speak against the Community Policing Initiative. And I know that this city likes to think of itself as progressive, but everyone here knows that comes second to development. Building as much as possible, as fast as possible, will always be more important than the unsheltered community members to this council. That's why you listed all of those partnerships at the beginning, but not a direct solution for the root cause of unsheltered people, giving people housing. For $2.5 million, you could give $10,000 housing vouchers to 250 people. Instead of a new stadium that will probably never get built, what would $200 million do to make housing, medical care, and public space available to everyone in this city? But we know you won't, because you'd rather prioritize developers, the university, and municipal bond markets. But on to the police. Tempe police are the occupying force that secure developments that this council wants so badly by keeping so-called undesirable people under watch or out of sight. Tempe police have a history of shooting first or doing nothing and clearing themselves afterwards. I remember when they did nothing about the murder of Antonio Arce. That's because that officer did what he was ostensibly trained to do. So did those cops at Tempe Town Lake. They detained Mad Rocks, tried to run his name for warrants, and escalated the violence of the encounter in a perfectly routine way. Their condescending attitude was also a normal part of this kind of interaction. What happened to Mad Rocks then was not an aberration of policing, a one-off event. It was the naked truth of this city and this police department's attitude towards unsheltered people. That won't change with community policing. Community policing will still be about securing these development spaces and will always be a force of violence and dispossession towards unhoused people. Community policing killed Mad Rocks and will kill more people and will let more people die because that's what police do. Thank you.
We have Tony Hassan, followed by, I think, Cecilia Fort, I believe. Tony Hassan first. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Yeah, so my name is Tony Hassan. I'm a citizen here from Tempe. I live literally right down the street. I'm honestly tired of this. How many times do we have to hear that a person of black and brown or BIPOC or houseless has been killed by the police? How many times do we have to go ahead and mourn the loss of people? How many times do we have to come here and ask you guys to actually show some type of humanity? It seems like government doesn't work. It really doesn't. So my thing is, why are we, the people, still facilitating you? That's literally all that I want to say, because I am tired. And that's literally, that is it. Stop the killing of our people, and stop lining your pockets, and start showing humanity. And that goes for every single one of you, not just Corey, every one of you.
Thank you. Next up, Cecilia Fort, followed by Madison W. Cecilia Fort, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Okay. Madison W. And that will be followed by Dominic Rios. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Well, I had a whole thing written up, but your response so far has been absolute garbage, and it's not even relevant anymore because you don't seem to give it that a man is dead because of you, because of your inaction. It has been 3 years since Antonio Arce was murdered. Not a damn thing has changed. We are still here. You still have blood on your hands. You are only getting more blood on your hands. And yet, you want 19 more police officers? To do what? They're just going to stand around and watch a man drown? What's the point?
Next up, we have Dominic Rios, followed by Cooper Festi. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
My name is Dominic Rios. I'm from Gilbert. Those officers they weren't just negligent. They weren't just complicit in that man's death. They played an active role. By refusing to help him, by engaging in the racist, classist system of policing, they were furthering the oppression of our communities. And just like those cops weren't just negligent or complacent, your council is equally responsible for those deaths. Not just your council, but the entire system at large. This system of policing, of this state apparatus exists to oppress us, the people of color, the working masses. At a certain point, when the police, when the city, when the state refuses to protect the people, when they actively engage in the killing of the community, it becomes of utmost necessity that the people protect themselves. Our demands, or our commandments maybe, are simple, they're logical, and they're moral. No more pigs in our communities. Thank you.
Next up, we have Cooper Festi, followed by Bailey Maddox. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Cooper, and I live here in Tempe. I'm a case manager in the Valley, and I work with homeless individuals. The police are a major barrier to getting housing if you're homeless. First, they sweep your camp. When they sweep your camp or wherever you're staying, they throw away everything, including important documents like social security cards and IDs. Those documents often hold up housing voucher applications and are hard to get back. Once you don't have a tent or a community to live in, once those places are swept and you're lost from those centralized resources, they harass you on the streets. They harass you basically anywhere, as the person earlier talked about being trespassed all over the city. So how does that impact Tempe's homeless population's avenues to housing? I imagine people don't know the ins and outs of the vouchers and everything, but as a case manager, I spent a few months 3 months working with an individual to find a place in Tempe, and we could not find one single place that accepted vouchers. They spent 3 more months on the street, 3 more months in their car, and still without housing. But I will tell you now, okay, I'm gonna start back. Why do people have to live on the street when there's ample resources to build, repair, and maintain affordable housing? And that's because you're not using your budget to benefit us, but to benefit business interests. And I think we all know who's to blame for this. Not only the police officers who are there, they are the most to blame, but we also should blame the city government beholden to ASU and real estate developers that's displaced people all over the Valley. We should blame the same city that's trying to spend $2.5 million on police a few weeks after that same police department proved they value a dog's life over a black man who lived on the street. And I'm here to demand with others in this audience that the budget is spent on services beneficial to the city's people. Instead of spending money on cops that harass and kill, we could use that to fund a climate, justice, and indigenous stewardship program specialist position. We could fund a backyard garden and food forest program, which is especially needed in low-income areas that are struggling with inflation the most. And we would even be able to hire 6 permanent middle school mental health counselors. We have seen the reality of policing in Tempe. You can't hide it behind plushy propaganda dog saving videos. You cannot hide the reality of policing we see every day. What you can do is stop acting like cops protect us, and you can begin defunding them and funding real avenues to a city free of crime, fight poverty, fight gentrification, fight the white supremacist patriarchal views, which are a precursor to so much violence. These are the avenues to cities free of crime, and policing is not one of those.
Thank you. I have Bailey Maddox, followed by Sassan Abdurrahman. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi there. My name is Bailey Maddox, and I live here in Tempe. So, first of all, police who can't be expected to rescue human beings from drowning cannot be expected to get paid. And particularly this phrase that I'm getting really used to hearing, which is the non-disciplinary paid leave, they also don't need to be getting that. Police who also release edited body cam footage, conveniently omitting an outright refusal to rescue Sean Bickings, and apparently a lot of other terrible things I didn't even know about, can't said to be accountable to a community, and a city council that allows these things to happen also cannot be said to be held accountable to a community and shouldn't be getting paid for. Trained mental health care providers and unsheltered outreach programs and climate and sustainability specialists and community gardeners and people who generally can be trained to rescue human beings from drowning deserve that funding and can be said to be held accountable by that community. The money that is spent on sending police to learn tactics of brutal oppression from the so-called Israeli Defense Forces in occupied Palestine, the money that is spent on putting shotguns and assault rifles in the hands of neo-Nazi gang members in uniforms, state-sanctioned neo-Nazi gang members in uniforms, the $2.5 million being proposed for essentially plainclothes officers to stand around and watch people drown, that is our money, and we command that you invest that money in our communities. And to address the Workers' Appreciation Day, I'd like to make it clear for anybody who doesn't already know that pigs don't work.
Up, we have Salsan Abdurrahman, followed by Sophia Alicia. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Sosan Abdurrahman, for the record. I'm an environmental justice leader working with Chispa, Arizona and our larger Arizona community. I'm a City of Phoenix resident, though we know that the climate crisis doesn't stop at political borders. Environmental racism is one of the many examples of the systemic oppression Black, Indigenous, and people of color must endure at the hands of the state. Similar to the systems of state violence and incarceration, these policies are killing our communities. Policies enacted by state and local government have resulted in our communities breathing polluted air, leading to respiratory illnesses, navigating a broken public transit system that leaves non-car owners behind and creates mobility and employment barriers, and struggling with rising temperatures with little heat mitigation in our neighborhoods, which has devastating impacts on our unsheltered neighbors. Hundreds are dying in the streets of Maricopa County because we are not investing in housing, but instead you are trying to add more police. We as a region are experiencing so many crises, and I didn't even get into mental health services and just ask anyone these days how they're doing, and we can all see how much we are all struggling with our mental health, considering the fucking world that we live in. We live in a world where people can watch a person die in front of them and mock them. We clearly need investments in mental health services. From worsening air quality to rising dangerous temperatures to a lack of equitable mobility to a housing crisis that we can all in this room connect to the reason that Sean Bickings is no longer here with us today. The community needs help, but the thing is, we always hear there isn't money for these necessary environmental and housing investments. If the city of Tempe invested in the housing crisis, the environmental crisis, or any of the resources that actually make us safe, what would our communities look like? Instead, you're recommending that we fund 19 more police officers when we have absolutely no data to show that more police helps people struggling with housing, for example. What actually makes and keeps us safe? And why don't the people get to decide that for themselves? 19 more foot soldiers for capitalism and white supremacy on the streets of Tempe. No money for housing, though. Why is it that we never have the money for the things people truly need, but we have the money for more and more police, something the people in your community are quite literally screaming and begging you to stop doing? If you need help finding somewhere else to put that money, the people in this room sure as hell have some ideas for you. I sure as hell have some ideas for you as a community-based organization representative that sits on the Phoenix Tempe Regional Infrastructure Exchange Strategy Team. I know for damn sure more money is needed towards climate resiliency infrastructure, especially emergency cooling centers and housing, because those are investments that will actually save people's lives and keep us safe. So I leave us with this. I pity an individual that is so soulless that they're able to watch a human beg for their life in front of them and die. How lost and destroyed your heart and soul must be to be able to live with yourself, to think you are doing a good job. And these people are who you are expecting to keep us safe. That shit is embarrassing. Do better. Thank you.
I'm going to do a couple more cards and take a quick break, just make sure people can get up and stretch their legs. Let's see. Actually, I see Seth Golden in the back. I saw your card was early. Do you still want to speak? Or yes, please come forward and state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hey, my name's Seth Golden. I live right outside. Anyway, I want everybody here to know Madrox asked about quashing his warrants at the meeting and was ignored. Could we have another meeting here? I think lots of people would want to come, unlike the current situation and the unhoused being harassed all the time. And what do you do with us? I don't know. You want to talk to me after the show? Do any of you guys feel fear sleeping in your nice houses? Having your soldiers murder us on the street? No? Feel great just sitting at home getting rich? You don't have to answer me all at once. Thanks.
Let's see, thank you, Mr. Golden. Next up, Sophia Alicia, followed by James Somerville.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Alicia, and I live in Phoenix. I'm struggling with my words right now because the last time I was here, I was standing right around here. This table wasn't here. There was a mother crying to you all because her 14-year-old son had been shot in the back. That was the last time I was here. I want to let you guys know that I had some time because I knew this meeting was going to take a while. So I drove around and I was talking to some encampments in the area, and I was offering people rides so that they could have their voice heard here. Nobody wanted to come. But when I mentioned Maverick's name, they winced a little bit. He had a big impact in this community, and I'm sorry that I didn't get a chance to meet him. I want you all to know that you are sowing the seeds of distrust among the community, and that is not only dangerous for unhoused people, that is also dangerous for all of us in this room and dangerous for you too. I didn't have words that I haven't said to any other council members in the area. But I do have this. You don't want to be Phoenix. You don't want to be known the same way that Phoenix is known, and that is the trajectory that you're heading on. You don't want to have the deadliest police force in the nation, but you're trying to catch up. Kubi, for as long as you've been progressive, not much has changed with over-policing in Tempe. And I'm asking you to do better. Jennifer, I was watching you because it looks like you're struggling to stay awake. I did see you texting on your phone. I did.
Please let her speak, please.
The truth is that regardless of everything we have to say here, your minds have already been made up. In the same way that Cobb had already made up his mind to not give a fuck about the people in the streets. That's why you will not release the footage. Not because it's very sensitive and you're worried about all of us. You're protecting that police officer who watched as a man died in front of him. And let's not pretend that if it was anybody else, if it was a young lady college student, that it would have gone down that way. Homelessness is an issue happening all over our county, and thousands, not hundreds of people are dying on our streets in Maricopa County. You don't want to be Phoenix. I don't know how to say it any other way. Not only do you need to decrease the police budget, but you also need to stop the needless practice of warrant searches. What I'm hearing is that that was an ask that Mad Rocks made. It is the modern stop and frisk. And it is a reason to constantly criminalize unhoused people. There is no other reason to do it. It does not keep us safer. And I'll say one more thing. There is one single action that you all can do right now that will make us feel heard. You need to decrease the police budget. You do not want to be Phoenix, Corey. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I'm going to go two more before we take a short break. James Somerville, followed by, let's see, sorry, I can't read the writing. It looks like Samuel is the first name. But I'm going to go with James Somerville first. Okay. Is there a Samuel in the audience? Samuel? Oh, yes. Please come forward, state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
My name is Samuel Dinjeka Jr. I am a Tempe resident, actually a first-year college student. And I would first off like to say that one thing that I remember being told growing up is the definition of insanity. and that's do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. And that includes increasing the police budget. But I'm not going to call you insane because y'all don't expect different results. Y'all expect to continue brutalizing our unhoused neighbors, brutalizing BIPOC people, brutalizing any marginalized person who dares to step outside of your hegemonic framework for the sake of development. And that is a true shame, and that is devoid of humanity. In the same way that those cops had the audacity and lack of humanity to save a drowning man, all because he was unhoused, it's the same way that y'all are just going to continue to vote in a manner that does not serve your communities. Y'all are ashamed to the title of public servant. I yield my time.
Very much. Right. We're going to take a brief 5-minute break until about 8:10, and we'll be right back after that. So just 5 minutes. All right, we're going to go ahead and restart here. All right. Okay, going back to the order of the cards in the order that I received them. We have Carolyn Jackson Ayers, followed by Stephanie Valenzuela. Hi, good evening. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Jackson Ayers, and I'm a resident of Glendale, Arizona. And I'm here on behalf of geologist Daniel Robinson. He went missing on June 23rd, 2021, and his father has driven out here from South Carolina to help look for his son because of the egregious mishandling from Buckeye Police Department of the case. They made a lot of mistakes and not considering this a criminal case, they're considering it a missing person case, and said if Daniel wanted to go missing, he's a grown man, he could. Pardon my anxiety, getting a little nervous. So we are trying to reach out and get people who can have some kind of resources available to us. Daniel was a Tempe resident, so we're hoping that there's something that you all can do to help us to get more resources and support in this case. There's going to be a Day of Remembrance for missing people in Arizona, not just for Daniel, it's for all missing people. And we would like to invite all of you to come out to that on June 25th at 6 p.m. Okay. Also, just to give you a little bit about how I became involved with the case, I'm also a South Carolina native. I am here from South Carolina, but I've lived in Arizona for over 30 years. And when I found out that Daniel was still missing, I went out to the search that Saturday and met David and found out, you know, we are battle buddies. We're from the same place, so we call ourselves cousins. So I am a person who likes to help people, and I've dedicated most of my life to serving people, 13 years in the Army, and also working for the Clerk of the Superior Court of Arizona and child support enforcement. So I always do stuff to help people to better their lives. And helping bring Daniel home would be the greatest achievement if we can do that. And we can't do it alone. We need funding, we need resources, we need help. And if you go to the website, please helpfinddaniel.com, David talks about Daniel and the whole case and answers questions every Wednesday now. So we really need support, and we ask that all of you please consider whatever you can do to help out with Daniel Cornelius Robinson.
Thank you, appreciate it. Mr. City Manager, can we talk to Ms. Ayers as well, just to make sure we can get the details for the Day of Remembrance as well?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Stephanie Valenzuela, followed by Quinn Rupp. Please come forward.
That story's been in the
Please
news
come.
for a long time. Y'all could have been reached out.
Sorry. Hi, Stephanie. Oh, are we good? Stephanie Valenzuela. Currently homeless, but I stay with a friend in Tempe, Arizona. This is my daughter. She wanted to come up and kind of experience stuff. So I wrote my stuff. Hi, good evening. My first name is Homeless, and my last name is born and raised in Arizona. It's a privilege to speak tonight and be able to share just a few minutes of what life has become for a lot of low to medium income families. The low income is under 35K a year. The medium is around 65K a year. That based off a home of one adult and maybe one child. I'm a single parent with 5 dependents and a few dogs. 6 months ago, the rents throughout the valley skyrocketed. Landlords, investors became greedy and are still riding the rental price increase. Rental rates, unfortunately, have not even yet to meet the all-time high. They're still rising. This causes gentrification and pushes out families that have been parts of these communities for decades, causing families to live with other families or in cars and even become homeless. There's MLS listings, one right after another, that stipulate a renter has to have a 700 credit score and make 3 times the amount of rent. Having a low gross income means with having to make 3 times the rental amount puts me at a rental rate of $1,000 a month. And for a family of 5 with a few dogs, there are no affordable homes for me here in Tempe or in neighboring cities. Landlords and rental management companies push these agendas to raise rents, having to make 3 times the amount of rents, just about the same levels that Fannie Mae requires a buyer to qualify for a home loan. A rental and a mortgage should never have the same stipulations, as when this does, this becomes the calm before the storm. We as a community are yet to see the full effect of this, and the committee, you guys, the council, has the power to change this and help families. ASU owns over 660 acres of land here in Tempe, and that's not counting other lands that they own other cities throughout the valley. $928 million commercial developments in Tempe on Tempe Town Lake that don't pay property taxes because they get a pass on paying property taxes courtesy of ASU. We also have opportunity zones here in Tempe. For those that don't know what these are properties that the city or state sell at a discount rates to investors. The investors come in and build on these lands. Brand new, affordable housing is what it's supposed to be, but this isn't the case. The homes built are above median income to sustain. There's nothing affordable for us that live in the communities for these opportunity zones that are built. The investors make money off these homes, and they also get a break. I'm not done yet, but.
Take the 30 seconds, please. Go for it.
Okay. A break with loans on these properties or land purchases at all-time discount rate, courtesy of the opportunity zone. One example in Tempe is Roosevelt townhouses in Tempe. Make affordable housing make sense. Make investors pay. Make commercial businesses pay taxes. Open up housing assistance in Tempe, as it's been closed for a long time. And we haven't even touched base on homelessness, youth here in Tempe, at a all-time rate with substance abuse. And I'm just going to go to the bottom. That, funding more police is going to add fire to the flame. Police are not counselors. They are not trained to be compassionate, and they are not trained to preserve life. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker we have is Quinn Rupp, followed by Jacqueline Alcaraz. Please come forward, state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Quinn Rupp here in Tempe. So I really wanted to highlight the violence that this city's decisions is increasing in our communities, while also claiming to protect and serving these communities. One of them is the avenue of the police, and the increase of the police budget and roles of police is just increasing a violent role that these marginalized people already face every day. And increasing the number of those officers is increasing the amount of violence that they face every day. I also want to highlight the closing of the Food City on Apache. It is a violent action that is increasing the food scarcity for people who are already suffering the most out of recent price hikes, displacement for student housing, and other avenues that just leaves people more desperate than they were to begin with through decisions that Tempe makes. And so while I guess everyone is sleeping in their homes that I'm assuming is going to be rather comfortable compared to the streets, I'd like all y'all to consider how your actions through this decision of the budget is going to impact those who do not have those luxuries. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Jacqueline Alcaraz, followed by Zaira Flores. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Jacqueline Alcaraz. I've been sitting here watching you guys maybe chew gum, play on your phones, but we're here to block the budget and you're here to listen to us. You've been nodding your heads over and over, giving us smiles, and many people have been here before saying something more eloquent, well-spoken, and much smarter than I will. But at the end of the day, we're here to block the budget. The police force here is something akin to what is in Phoenix. With an untold hike in rent, people are not able to, and inflation. Our houseless members are suffering and many are dying in this heat. But yet we stand here again begging to not invest in a bloody force. Sorry, I'm just really nervous, but it's just so emotional that you, time and time again, you betray our most active community members who beg and beg over months and years for you to do something, and you continue to invest in something so rotten as the police, a culture so toxic, and the very antithesis of what the future should look like. A better future is possible, and every one of you sitting here today can make that happen in some way tonight when you vote. Just the thought of hiring 19 more police officers honestly makes me want to vomit. It's, for Black and brown people or people who are unsheltered, it is a visceral response when you see one walking down the street or when you're trying to relax or enjoy Tempe or Phoenix, any other city. As someone who has been charged with like gang charges just for no reason for protesting and having your life destroyed, just the thought of more disgusting people roaming the streets and not thinking of how homeless people as people is disgusting. There's really nothing more to say, but all of your named plates should be named Bend Over for how much you bend over for developers in the city.
Next up, Zyra Flores, followed by Casey Clowes. Please, no clapping. We have to get through all the cards.
I think you said Hira Flores. Hi, my name is Hira Flores. I am a trans and queer person. I reside in Phoenix. Currently, happy Pride Month, right? And I think one of the things that I learned coming to Trans Corpola was the history of Pride, which was that police were antagonizing and committing violence and abuse against trans and queer people throughout history, right? And then we decided one night that we were done with it. And we fought back and we said, and it took people deciding to say, to actually change, right? It's funny because we say, or just listening to the things that we started off this meeting with, right, which was fighting against ageism, giving a time to memorialize Mad Rocks, and also to understand and celebrate Juneteenth, right? All of these things are things that happen now in the past, right? All of these things, Pride, Juneteenth, this death of Mad Rocks is now something that is ingrained in the past. There's no changing it. The only thing that we can do from this point on now is to make changes, to take decisions, to make really difficult choices, to actually not invest in the things that are going to murder our communities. Arizona has been going through a very transphobic wave. What our children need at this point is mental health counselors that are going to help them understand, why do we live in a world? We don't need more police that are going to be in our schools. We need more food gardens, and we need more people that are going to be able to take care of our communities. And all these things start with making the hard decision to actually not fund the police. We don't need leaders who are going to remember this moment in the past. We need leaders who are going to act on the things that we need from them. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up we have Casey Klaus, followed by Arnab Talabi, I think. I'm sorry. But Casey, you're first. Please come forward, state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you. My name is Casey Klaus. I'm here today as someone who grew up in and still lives in Tempe, and as a religious professional with Unitarian Universalist Justice Arizona. As a leader in my faith, I am called to speak out against injustice and work toward creating the beloved community, a community in which everyone is cared for, absent of poverty, hunger, and hate. As a Unitarian Universalist, my values call for justice, equity, and compassion. We believe that no one is disposable. No one is outside the circle of love. We know that budgets are moral documents. We allocate our resources to things that we value. That's why we want the Tempe City budget to reflect caring for our people, funding for mental health and healthcare and sustainability efforts. These community resources create a safe and thriving community. Funding more police is an investment in criminalization, not care. Tempe should not invest in systems that perpetrate harm in our community, but rather invest in programs that actually keep us safe and reinvest in the communities that have been victimized by policing and other forms of white supremacy.
Thank you. Next up is, I'm sorry I can't read the last name, but Arnab? Yes, okay, please come forward, state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes. And after that, I have Kevin, Kansas.
I knew my handwriting was bad, but okay.
I have the same problem, no worries.
My name is Arnab T. Kabir, and I live in Mesa, AZ. Remember my name because you'll be seeing me again soon. How quaint. I'm sure I saw the image of Mad Rocks drowning in the lake somewhere in one of my old US history textbooks. Perhaps it's a pattern I've observed the past couple years or couple months, even just the past couple of weeks. I've been a member of AZ Hugs for the Houseless for a short time, and I respected you lending your ear to my friend Austin Davis, Mayor Corey Woods. But allowing a funding increase for the police will go completely against what my friend Austin has worked 3 traumatic years for. Well, police, are they responsible for protecting us? During the 1992 Supreme Court case Salas v. Carpenter, the Supreme Court ruled that police have no responsibility in the protection of a person unless that person is being either held in state custody or the police is actively hindering that person's ability to defend themselves. It's the reason why I don't expect the police whose inaction led to the unabashed murder of children and teachers in Uvalde to face much, if any, consequence. And it's why I don't expect the police who drown Mad Rocks with their dry hands and a clean conscience will experience anything beyond a short and enjoyable paid leave. The police are tasked with sweeping areas clean of the houseless. The houseless are denied their own existence by the law. 19 more policemen, friendly or not, is adding jaguars to a concrete jungle that is already inhospitable to begin with. It's funny how, much like those who take the stance of not all men when it comes to sexual misconduct, police defend themselves for not being the ones who directly commit the acts of brutality, police brutality, we see on the news. That's wonderful, gracious policemen and women, but choosing to defend yourselves instead of those without a voice shows where your priorities lie and moves the discussion away from the injustices your profession has facilitated. Perhaps this is wishful thinking on my part, but I want to put faith in your conscience, City Council. But whatever fresh water the council is providing on the Arizona streets to cool down those in need is nothing but a mislabeled barrel of kerosene that will light a flame beneath the blistering Arizona sun. And our only respite from the heat is to drown ourselves in the lake. Mad Rocks isn't the only example. He's only the most recent. Can you hear me? A moment of silence for the death of our trust in you, dear council. May it and Mad Rocks rest in peace. One can be revived, the other cannot.
Next up, we have Kevin Kansas, followed by Trayshawn Sisk.
Get off your phone, city manager. Your constituents are talking to you. Disrespectful.
Please, hold on. Mr. Kansas is going to speak. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Kevin Kansas. I just moved to Tempe this week, but I've been living in Arizona since I was 6 years old. Last summer, I was helping some friends pack their stuff so that they could move. And we went really late into the night at 3 a.m. We went to a gas station, and there we saw a man who was passed out. So we called 911, and an ambulance was on their way. And it turned out the man had overdosed on fentanyl. And the ambulance people pronounced him dead, and the cop car arrived shortly after them. But they weren't the only ones. Cop car after cop car after cop car came. I probably saw like 20 police vehicles that night. Why were they all there? Why so many? How many resources do we really need for that? A few months ago, just down the street, there's a mosque, and there was a group of Christian extremists, I guess you could call them, and they spent the whole day going around on the streets talking about their beliefs and specifically their hatred for Muslims. And they ended their day at the mosque shouting their hatred and threatening the people trying to attend service on that Friday. And I stood there and I watched the cops, just stand there and do nothing but, stop them from entering the building, but only because they weren't trying to enter the building. They didn't try to push them like down the street so that the people attending the mosque could at least feel safe, just the bare minimum. And now Madrox has died because the police refused to take action. Again, they stood there and they watched, refusing to do the bare minimum. What's the point of a police force that doesn't protect and serve? So, I don't know. It's just upsetting to me, really. And I want to believe in you because a few months ago I heard that you guys funded a project to rebuild the Food City complex as like a housing project, and this meeting, alone, you started it talking about workers and about Juneteenth, and giving Madrox a moment of silence, and and I appreciate that, and I want to believe in you, Mr. Mayor, and I want to believe in this city council, and I think you guys can take action. Okay, please do not become complacent. Please be creative and do more. With this money, you could do lots of things. You could fund more of those housing projects. People here have talked about all the other jobs that you could fund with mental health services. And, there's more things even upon that when it comes to housing, like passing like a rent cap or something, like 10% of family income, just all those things. So please do not pass this budget, okay? I beg of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Trayshawn Sisk, followed by Darlene Justice. Please state your name, place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
My name is Trayshawn Sisk. I'm a resident of Tempe, Arizona. Came to remind y'all that y'all have a lot of problems in this city, but adding 20 more police officers and increasing y'all budget is not one of the problems y'all have. That river behind us used to bring sustainability and vitality to this land, and now that's where we move people to live. That's insane, and that's sick. You guys have a bunch of racist megalomaniacs that patrol our communities and call themselves the police, and that needs to stop. We are not going to let these people keep harassing us. This is our home. Another thing I wanted to bring up was, like I said, I'm born and raised here. A lot of the communities that my friends from school lived in are now being replaced with underwhelming but overpriced, high luxury apartment buildings that none of us can afford. And I'm really curious as to why y'all keep adding more and more. Y'all need to stop putting y'all politics over the people. And I'm very curious as to why I've seen you talk more about that raggedy ass ramen bar not being able to play music than I did you talking about our brother that just lost his life in that lake. That's sad, man. You are our first black man. You have done nothing but let us down since you got in here, man. I hope you don't expect our vote. I hope none of y'all expect our votes without delivering something, some true change to what's going on here. I just wanted to bring up, I think it's funny, Navarro's not here because he's one of the first ones to make an excuse for this whack police department. He's a coward. I hope when you see this, you know you're a coward and we don't want to have coffee with you. We want you to get off your ass and come do your job. The last thing I want to say, which y'all already know, is the decisions y'all make are continuing to make living in this city more and more miserable, and we are not going to have it. We're not listening to anything that y'all say anymore. We're all looking at what y'all do. So I hope y'all take everybody's words here very seriously, act like you care about this city and the people that live in it, and make the right decision. And do not fund these racist gangsters that roam our communities. We're not having it no more, and we're not asking to be saved by our oppressors. That's all I gotta say. I don't got nothing else to say to y'all.
Very much. Next up, we have Darlene Justice, followed by Philip Gates.
Mr. Mayor and Council, you all know me. I've lived in Tempe for a long time, 57 years. I came here tonight to talk about the upzoning project that's on City Council agenda. And I think you're going to support it. I hope you do in that. But right now, I'm going to tell you that I'm very sorry for all of you guys for what's being said tonight. I am not belittling.
Please let her speak. Everyone got a chance to speak. Please let her speak.
I am not belittling what is being said and the concerns of people that are here tonight. I want to stand with some of that tonight. But I know the type of people that you are also. That's why I said that. Things are not getting better in America. Things are not getting better in Tempe. We have increased homelessness. We have people who cannot find housing. I'm really concerned because it's summertime. And in the past, years ago, when we had homeless issues, a lot of people took off and went up to Flagstaff. Flagstaff is full too. Every place is full. We're going to have people that are really struggling. I'm proud of Tempe for the fact that you have cooling stations and opened up areas where people can go. I'm proud of Care 7 and the things you've done. I'm proud of the Tempe properties that you are building affordable housing on. Wish it could happen tomorrow, but it is happening, and it's happening very quickly. I have had relationships with Tempe's PD for over the years. I have seen great things with them. They have even come and helped tour Housing First in Phoenix with me. And there are some really great people that live in Tempe, that work in Tempe. I was disturbed, and I know very little about what happened the other day other than somebody lost their life, and that is horrible. And 3 officers stood by. I do not know the whole story. I do not know when everybody arrived in that. The concern that I have is that when I watched the video with George Floyd, and people are going to be very upset that I'm mentioning that name right now, but someone kneeled on the neck of George Floyd and 2 other officers stood by. I would say the one thing that we need to change, and this is because even if my husband had a very bad surgery years ago, and the doctor that did the surgery was known in the community as having problems. And Bill had to have surgery over and over. We had to go to California to get it straightened out. I visited many different doctors, and I had a doctor say to me, "This shall remain within these walls." But the doctor that operated on Bill, that they know within their community he's a problem, but people don't speak up. So going back to the George Floyd incident, If we truly had 3 officers standing by when this gentleman was in Tempe Town Lake and asking for assistance, the thing we teach everybody and we teach our children is if you see something is wrong, speak up. And so I really think that officers need to know that if something is wrong going on, they should speak up. One of the 2 officers that were there during George Floyd could have gone over and lifted the other officer off of his neck. If we truly had 3 officers there, and please know I highly respect Chief Glover and many of the officers that I've known over the years, but officers need to know that if something is wrong, they should speak up and do something. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Philip Yates, followed by Valencia Clement. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence, and you have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I reside on Roosevelt Street, right around the corner from the lake. And I didn't know Mr. Vickings at all, but I do know people that did know him. No one will ever know what led up to him jumping off of that bridge. All we know for sure is from the footage that we saw, and it was very, very disturbing for everybody that saw it. We need to see the rest of it. Everybody, the world needs to see the rest of what was on that body cam. And it is just, we need to take more of the money that we are going to give to the police department, to people that are starving in our streets, to people that are dying because it's too hot to live in. The homeless population is so important. I can't stress as much importance as it is that the homeless population needs to be addressed by the city of Tempe. We need to make a point that there was a mistake. There was a huge mistake made by 3 officers, and they need to be held accountable. Right now, they're on paid leave. And that's really upsetting to everybody, I think. But I think that we have a chance now to stand out as a city, a community, and basically make the point that we do care about the homeless population. We do care about the people that can't afford to live inside the houses because the rent is just way too high. And we can do stuff about that. The city of Tempe's police department has enough police officers, and they are an important part of our city, but we also need to take a look at some of the more important things in our city. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Next up, we have Valencia Clement, followed by Harley Jackson.
Hi, Council. My name is Valencia Clement. I'm a doctoral candidate at ASU and also a fellow Equity in Action fellow for the city of Tempe, where I worked my first year living here. I think it's important to realize that in a moment where there's been so much loss, there's a reason to put love before order. This is not a time to settle down. A man died while people watch, and it feels like the world is moving as if business is as usual. If we don't grieve in a way that is orderly, it may be because the racist, sexist, classist chaos imposed on our lives by the state. I've been orderly. I've worked for the city. I've worked with the city. I've emailed and talked with many of you personally to tell them what I was doing. I worked with you guys, I listened, I learned, and I made my position very plain when I departed. I left an abundance of resources to talk about what's happening in our community and immediately started a mutual aid to fund unsheltered people. I was told to be quiet, that my ideas were too radical, but what's radical about adequacy? What is an orderly way to face the insanity of coming in here again and again to speak for the dead and suffering? When people are in a burning building, do you tell them to quiet their screams? Empathy is needed. I think it's important to read this budget as a moral contract. What do you value? Who do you value? What studies do you need to hear the people coming before you with grief in their hearts? Why aren't there homeless shelters in the city? What about shaded bus stops? Why aren't we reaching the most vulnerable people? It's very clear where order and playing nice have gotten us. Dion Johnson, Antonio Arce, Mad Rocks, living under siege in a sundown town, right down the block from the deadliest police force in the United States that was just under DOJ investigation. We don't want order if it leaves us dead. We don't want it if it leaves us mourning, grieving, sick, poor, and deprioritized. We want to be able to trust that our safety is a priority. We want to be able to see that justice takes precedence over order. We want to make sure that when we call for help, that people will come and help us. We want our outrage to be contextualized by the year of being left out to dry continuously. Even Jesus flipped tables to show people that love is more important than bureaucracy. Would you have left Jesus on the frontage road? The people's passion show you where your priorities should be. We elect you. Our tax dollars fund you. Yet I, working 4 jobs, have to fund and beg people for money so I can make sure that people on my streets have water, have a sleeping bag, and they're constantly getting thrown away. This is what I'm doing on top of everything else while also working with you guys. I was part of Equity in Action. I met with you all. So how disappointed must it be to come and face you under these circumstances? How can we be patient when people die on the street every day and they didn't have to die? Objectivity and control is not the answer if it keeps us from acknowledging the daily injustice underway in the city. We build these man-made bodies of water, and we should be able to make sure anyone who is near them is safe, and there's a timely response. If objectivity got us here, I hope a people-informed democratic republic can take us to a place where we can be free, where we can be heard. Lastly, why is it illegal for us to film the police force that you want to expand? Why is the police accountability a crime? What's normal for you all is deadly for us. So listen to our pain. Be able to face the chaos and grief. Be able to hold space for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Harley Jackson, followed by John Knight. Harley Jackson. Okay, next up, John Knight. Is John Knight here? Okay, next up is LaToya Tolliver. And she will be followed by Alexis Aisha.
Hello, my name is LaToya Tolliver. I'm a resident of Phoenix, Arizona, but I'm also a social worker and a mentor to multiple youth in the DCS system of all races. Most of my employment in social services has been in the Tempe community. Your residents, mostly our community's children. So Mayor Corey Woods, you met Mad Rocks, and he cooperated with helping you understand what the homeless community goes through on a daily. The harsh weather conditions, food insecurity, and no place of belonging. But yet he still left to die while crying out for help and his partner watching the man she loves die. You guys sit here and y'all say life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But where was Mad Rock's life? Where is Mad Rock's life? Where was his liberty? And was he fully able to pursue true happiness while experiencing homelessness? I more than understand and see why it's not beneficial to our community to have 19 more officers added to the force versus investing the $2.5 million into our houseless community. That is continuously growing, not just grown adults, but also children that are in the DCS system that I advocate for, including mental health services. As a recovering employee that was in social services field of employment, if mental health services in Arizona and Phoenix were better funded and more funding was attributed towards these programs, me and my child wouldn't have been victims ourselves of crime. From personal experience, I have trauma in regards to the police force. while me and my daughter were both bleeding, victims of a crime from stab wounds, and called 911 for help, my daughter, 14, had a gun pointed at her by officers. They also pointed a gun at me, helpless there after being stabbed 14 times, saying that I need to walk. Needless to say, I couldn't walk. Does that sound familiar? When we cry out for help, even when it comes to that, if we're not heard by those that are supposed to protect and serve, what does it matter? It sounds familiar. This is a continuous problem with police here in Tempe and honestly all across AZ. Why do officers invalidate our cries for help while they still demand more funds? Why do they continue to treat our cries for help as minimal? They say to protect and serve, but who are they serving? It's never been us. I'm just asking, and all of us here are asking, to please reallocate that money towards bettering our communities. Tempe, please be the example. There's just one more thing that I need to say. Can I say that, please?
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. If we could please stop criminalizing BLM Phoenix Metro. We do stand and advocate for equality, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and so much more. We and other organizations are out here doing the work. And the truth is, at this moment, we're hoping the council will too. So so no more pretty words, just please listen to our help. Listen to us. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Next up we have Alexis Aisha, followed by Gretchen Reinhardt.
Tell them. Isa.
Isa, my apologies.
It's okay, no worries. Hi, my name is Alexis Isa. I'm a 3L at Arizona State University College of Law. I had absolutely no intention of speaking tonight, but your actions have been so unbelievably atrocious, I have to speak on them. The utter disrespect and disregard you have shown for not only Mad Rock's life and human dignity, but for every single person's life and dignity in this room is despicable. The fact that you guys are distinguishing yourselves on your privilege and distinguishing it from us and the rest of the community you were elected to serve is unbelievable. How can you sit there from your whiteness, from your socioeconomic status, or from whatever it is you want to distinguish yourself from the people you're supposed to be governing and helping and protecting, and saying that, oh, this isn't a problem. You're sitting here all neutral, chewing gum, rolling your eyes, unbelievably disrespectful. If you think anybody in this room is ever going to elect you, you have another thing coming. You should not be anywhere near a government position. Neither should you. Absolutely ridiculous. You are aware that this is a democracy, right? Is that clear? We're aware of that, right? That means you listen to us. We, the people, are supposed to be telling you what to do. If everyone has been telling you for 2 years to defund the police, and then you turn around and say, oh, let me give 19 officers to the department, does that sound like a democracy? That doesn't sound like a democracy to me. That straight up sounds like y'all are doing what you want and not listening to the people who elected you and pay for you. It's ridiculous. It is disgusting. All of you have clearly shown how blatantly unfit, unworthy you are of these positions. And honestly, you're completely apathetic. It's unreal. Like, none of you are worthy of being in these positions or the power that you have. And I hope everyone here and everyone in this state, everyone in this country realizes that, and none of you are in a position to ruin and unprotect us and disserve us again. Thank you.
Next up is Gretchen Reinhardt, followed by Heather Hamill.
Gretchen Reinhardt, Tempe, and I want to begin by thanking each of you for your years of dedicated service. To our whole community, and specifically for the months and hours that I know you've worked together to come to tonight's ultimate budget decisions, whatever they are. Escalante neighborhood has been my home for 27 years. And so much has changed over those years. Generally, I believe for the better, due to redevelopment successes. Success brings new challenges, and in this case, the community-destroying dynamics of gentrification. Past improvements to the community have included what I hope is permanent, affordable senior housing, like at Meridian, and county-partnered low-income and affordable housing, like at the Blue Line at River. But we have had to grieve the loss of trailer home community after trailer home community. And the faces and demographics of this once diverse but largely historically Hispanic neighborhood have shifted dramatically. Until now, the city needed to make investments for any development to happen on Apache's vacant lots. Now and going forward, Tempe must act rapidly to even begin to keep pace, let alone increase, to keep up with the same amount of balance lost to construction and constructed. We're losing that affordability to those market rate new construction. That is, that balance is radically shifting very quickly. Remember the longtime family businesses that we all love, like Haji Baba's, like Don Filo's Meat Market. That development on Apache already moved once from my just down the block to now a mile. They are the heart of what all of Tempe cherishes along Apache. This and all future budgets must remain focused on human health, diverse community building, and environmental sustainability. Those were three things. Human health, diverse community building, and environmental sustainability, and I really am almost done. We need to prioritize future resilience with human scale, like half-mile bike grid connectivity, and investments in housing stock at scale that will remain affordable and safe as temperatures rise. And of course, we need to provide state leadership on how cities can mitigate climate change. The challenges are huge. Thank you for facing them and making every decision work hard toward a better future for all.
Thank you. Next up, we have Heather Hamill, followed by Jordan Harris. Is Heather here? Okay, let me next then go to Jordan Harris. Jordan Harris, followed by William Robles.
Okay, well, first of all, hi. I'm Jordan Harris, and I'm a resident of Tempe. My heart's racing right now, but I came up here to say, like, you smiled at me earlier. I don't really see what there's to smile about. My finances, financial situation, homelessness, the constant struggle. Being a 13-year-old girl, living on a couch in a cramped apartment just because we can't afford anything anymore with the constant raising prices. It's ridiculous, the constant struggle where you guys ignore everything, you're disrespectful, you're blatantly ignoring issues that basically everyone has presented to you. I don't know. It's really annoying. It's tedious. And you're saying that you're trying to help, or you're saying you're listening. I don't see how you're listening. I don't see how you care when literally 2 other people are missing. People aren't listening. You guys are so disrespectful. It's like you don't even care that there's a bunch of people outside who are struggling. Just in general, like, do you hear them shouting? Are you just like, is your mind already made up about like where the budget is going to? 19 other officers when there's already constant struggle where we fear them, like, it's just annoying. I'm shaking right now because I'm not good at public speaking in general, but seeing what happened is just really annoying. I didn't plan on speaking. I saw my mom next to me. She, spoke earlier. But, like, people are dying. People are missing. There's missing cases, murders, suicides, because people are struggling, and the police, who you're trying to fund more, they're not helping. They're not helping. You're funding the people who are not helping us. You're funding the people who are oppressing us, who are making us struggle even more. I bet you know the way, if people drove here however they came here, you saw police outside. You saw people while you were driving here. You saw people while you were walking here. Police, like you saw those people. There's way too many of them already. They usually raise situations and make them worse. And you should start funding mental health things, like just mental health care, like the pandemic started, financial situations, housing, all that stuff. I can't even cover half of that stuff in here because there's so many issues that aren't resolved already. It's a complete issue, and it's completely ignorant. You guys sit here right now completely disrespectful on your phones, yawning, tired. Did you even know what was going on when there was a graphic video? You asked him, did you not know beforehand? I'm sorry, that's just concerning to me because, I don't see how the video was graphic when there's constant videos, and we should be able to see the footage on the camera and know what happened. He drowned, and that's really unfortunate, and the police should be held responsible for that. That's all. Thank you, because, I really don't see it.
Thank you. Next up is William Robles. Please come forward, state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, Council, Mayor. My name is William Robles. I'm from the town of Guadalupe. I'm very well known as a cop watcher. I do a lot of filming at events when there's cops out stopping people. I want to turn my back a little bit towards the police over there because I see the captain there, or whoever he is. You guys are very aggressive in Guadalupe. That's very true. People in Guadalupe fear you guys. Whenever you guys come to Guadalupe, they always tell everybody on Facebook or whatever to watch out because you guys are in Guadalupe. You guys need to calm down what you guys do, especially when there's like the shooting that happened a couple weeks ago in Guadalupe. I was there to go film the event, and a bunch of your officers tell me, get out the way. Oh, I know who you are. I know what you're doing. You're just making everybody look bad. I'm not making people look bad. It's you guys that's making people look bad. You guys you guys need to learn how to communicate with people. It's town of Guadalupe. Yes, we know we have some problems, but you guys don't need to. You guys need to let the sheriffs do their job. You guys need to just keep back and just do whatever you guys got to do, but don't be so aggressive towards people.
We have to. If we don't, then we're not going to get anything out of it.
But you see what I'm saying, though? You guys are pretty aggressive towards the people in my town. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. Okay, that is the end of the cards that I have. I want to just do one last call. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address the council? Please come forward and state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
I will be very brief. My name is Lefty. I live in Phoenix, and I often post about the atrocities committed by the Phoenix Police Department. All I have to say is that everybody's watching you guys. You don't want to be Phoenix, and we will hold you accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the city council? Please get my attention.
If you don't want violence, stop funding it.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the city council before I close the public hearing portion?
Actually, I'd like to say something.
Sure, please come down. Please state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Malik. I just graduated. You guys want to fund the police. I say fund the schools. I've been in school probably 17 years, and all I heard was teachers say I'm struggling. They support for the students. What are you guys doing? We pay you guys. I say, what if it was me chasing that man and he had drowned? I would be in jail right now. I would be in jail right now. I promise you I would. So what's going to happen to them? How do you see your own people? How do you feel about this topic? Honestly, can we get an answer? Can we? We want an answer.
I don't think I'm allowed to address it because I got to ask
Why
the city
not?
attorney.
We
Can he address it?
I have to ask.
Can he address it?
No, I'm afraid not.
Why not? Why
Because
not?
it's the
You
way
know,
it's-
you guys can't put videos out, but I can go on YouTube and see cops shooting people. I can see cops harassing people. Why can't we see this footage? You know,
Well,
fund the schools.
let me address-
You guys make money off of us. I work. We all work. Our tax money goes to you guys and those officers. You know.
Let me address the question that you posed to the mayor as to whether or not he could respond to you. He cannot. If you look at the agenda, you have an opportunity to speak. We don't have an opportunity to respond to you. What the mayor does have an opportunity to do and the ability to do is to present a request to the city manager for something to be done
Right.
on a business side.
Thank you.
Hold on, please.
Thank
Hold on,
you.
no, hold on. He addressed the question to the city attorney, and she's simply answering the question.
But we want to hear it from you. You're the main person.
I know I'm the mayor, but I'm also governed by state law that I have to follow, and that's where I go to the city attorney to make
Right.
sure I'm staying in compliance.
Right. So can we fund schools?
I'm sorry, I did not go to law school. She did, so that's why she's here and I'm in this chair.
Right.
She is.
Right.
Okay, I can't argue
Right.
this. She is absolutely giving a legal answer. But I cannot go back and forth about this. So
I look into you eye to eye. I just want that answer. You know, it's a shame. It's a shame they all voted for you and you did the opposite. That's sad. You set us up for failure. You really did. All of you guys. You guys are looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm only 17 years old. I promise you, I've been through a lot with the law. A lot. And this is not happy at all. You know, fund the schools. Schools need it. You guys don't want homeless on the streets? Fund schools. It starts at school. Homes. Most people can barely afford to live. And I promise you, I know. I promise. You're staring at me. We have this eye connection. I'm telling you. You need to do better. Better, not worse. Better.
thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the city council? Please get my attention. Yes, please. Come forward and state your name and place of residence. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Lily Villa. I am a former resident of Tempe. I worked for the city of Tempe. Corey, do you remember me? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mayak.
Mm-hmm.
Robin, do you remember me? Yeah. Andrew, I don't know if you remember me, but yeah, it was really amazing to work for the city of Tempe. I miss it. But there was so much work that we put in to College Connect. We put so much work into Mayak. We put so much work into the housing projects that we were doing, all the strategic planning. This is such a great opportunity to build up the incredible services that we have in Tempe. You've already done so much work. You could take that money away from the police and put it into the projects that are already doing something. Lim Huggins spoke. He was on Mayak. We have so many people that have been changed because of these programs, and you can do better. It's possible. But thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience wishing to address the city council this evening? Please get my attention. Okay. Okay, seeing none, I'll go ahead and close that portion of the public hearing. Now we need to quickly finish the regular council meeting, whatever, then we go to the special budget meeting right afterwards. All right, so item number 7 is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be considered as a group and will be enacted with one motion by the city council unless an item is removed for separate consideration. Members of the public may remove public hearing items for separate consideration. Public hearing items are designated as public hearing item at the beginning of the item title. Council members may remove any item for separate consideration or to declare a conflict of interest. If a council member would like to declare a conflict at this time, the city clerk will provide the council member with a disclosure form. If you wish to speak on a public hearing item, please fill out a speaker card and submit your completed card to the city clerk prior to the agenda item coming forward for council discussion. I will call your name when it is your turn for public comment. The consent agenda this evening is listed as miscellaneous items 7A1 through 7A6, awards of bids and contracts items 7B1 through 7B6, and resolutions items 7C1 through 7C4. Any item designated as public hearing item can be removed by the public, by a member of the public for a separate consideration. And if anyone would like to have a public hearing item removed, please get my attention now. All right. I should also ask the clerk's office here, were any comments received from the public wishing to address the city council on a consent agenda public hearing item?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll look to the council now. Are there any other agenda items that you'd wish to have removed for separate consideration? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda items and see if I have a first and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cubie and
I
seconded by Councilmember Adams. Make it here. Please vote.
Yes.
And Councilmember Cubie? Oh, perfect. Okay, and that vote passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. All right. Just trying to get to my next thing here. All right, next up is item number 8, the non-consent agenda. All items listed on the non-consent agenda will be considered separately. Agenda items scheduled for introduction and first public hearing will be heard, but will not be voted upon at this meeting. Agenda items scheduled for second public hearing and final adoption will be voted upon tonight. Council members who may have a conflict of interest may abstain from voting on a matter, and the city clerk will provide the council members with a disclosure form at this time. The first item under this section is item 8A1, which is to hold a public hearing to adopt a resolution levying the fiscal year 2022-2023 annual assessment for the City of Tempe Downtown Tempe Enhanced Services Improvement District, ruling on objections, making corrections, approving a new district map, and approving modified assessments. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll look for a motion on item 8A1.
So moved.
Been moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Please vote.
Yes.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. The next item under the section is 8A2, which is to ratify a staff-approved increase to the contract amount with Express Scripts Incorporated for pharmacy benefits management services for eligible city employees and their dependents. Council, any comments or discussion? All right. Hearing none, do I have a motion on item 8A2?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Adams and seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Please vote.
Yes.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. The next item under the section is 8A3, which is to award a construction contract to Felix Construction Company for the Recharge Wells number 3 drilling and testing project located at 800 East Divot Drive. Council, any comments or discussion? Hearing none, I'll look for a motion on item 8A3.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cubie. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Please vote.
Yes.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. The next item under this section is 8A4, which is to adopt a resolution authorizing the signing of a 5-year lease agreement with Hohokam 3 Developers, LLC, for single-tenant office space located at a publicly undisclosed location for use as a family advocacy center. Council, any comments or discussion? Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Arredondo Savage, seconded by Councilmember Garland. Please vote.
Yeah.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. The last item under the section is 8A5, which is to adopt a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Tempe and the Arizona Board of Regents on behalf of Arizona State University that will allow the parties to partner on the creation of a family advocacy center by the City of Tempe for use by both the city and the university. Council, any comments or discussion? Yes, your mic.
Thank you. I just want to salute Karen Lathan. She's our constable, and she tugged on our coats early in, was it 2014, and begged us that we needed a family advocacy center. And the first step towards that was creating the nation's first Family Justice Commission. And this council embraced that idea, and we eventually got to the point where we have the Family Advocacy Center that is going to be built, or excuse me, rented, and then eventually built, and with services that are so desperately needed by our students at ASU and by our residents. And I want to salute Karen Lathan tonight, because it was her quiet advocacy, her gentle tug on the, and not so gentle tug on the coats at times, but she brought us to this point, so I just want to honor her. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Cubie.
Motion to approve? Oh, sorry.
Oh, it's been moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Any further comments? Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Also, I don't disagree. Thank you for bringing that up, Councilmember Cubie, but also an appreciation to Arizona State University and how important it is that we continue to have these partners in our community that really, walk the talk too, and they've actually put the money up for 5 years, so that's definitely going to be helpful for us to maintain that lease. So I just want to say thank you to Arizona State University and their continued partnership and commitment to our Family Advocacy Center.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further comments? All right, hearing none, please vote.
Yes.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. The next section on the non-consent agenda is ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. These items will be read and introduced tonight, but no vote will be taken. The second hearing and votes for these items is scheduled for June 23rd, 2022. First up is 8B, ordinances and items for introduction and first hearing. The first item is item B1, introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a code text amendment for marijuana infusion text amendment consisting of changes within section 3-426, marijuana and other sections within the zoning and development code to allow alternate separation requirements for marijuana infusion facilities, including updates to the land use tables and related definitions. The applicant is Gamage and Burnham. As the applicant would like to give a presentation.
Well, good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. For your records, my name is Mike Merowitz with the law firm of Gamage and Burnham at 40 North Central Avenue in Phoenix. Our firm is the applicant of this text amendment request, and we do have a presentation prepared, which I am happy to give if the council would like a presentation, but I know it's been a long meeting and there are other items on the agenda. We will also be here on June 23rd for the second public hearing, so alternatively, if the council would prefer, I'm happy to simply answer any questions that you have, and we'll give a full presentation at the next meeting if that's preferred.
Sounds good, thank you. Anyone with the council have any questions at this time or want to see a presentation? Councilmember Cubie?
I think it is important to have a brief presentation because we want the public to have a few weeks to consider and get back to us. And we run into trouble before, frankly, when we haven't given a first read, a true first read. So if we could have a brief one, thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Well, first off, I'll introduce some of the other team members who are here. Our firm, of course, is the applicant of this text amendment, but we filed it on behalf of Mike Halsum, who is sitting here in the front row, as well as Lindsay Shuby from Gamage and Burnham. I'll quickly go through this presentation. Oh, perfect. So I want to first provide some background about the different types of marijuana facilities that you will see, many of which you'll be familiar with. The first main type of marijuana facility is the most popular one. That's a marijuana dispensary. This is the commercial or retail component where marijuana products are actually sold directly to consumers. On the right-hand side of the screen is an image of what a typical dispensary looks like from the inside. The second most common type of marijuana facility is a marijuana cultivation facility. And this is where marijuana is actually grown or cultivated. It typically occurs in a very large building in order to house lots of marijuana plants. And it's also the facility that is more commonly associated with odor simply because of the sheer number of marijuana plants that are located inside of the building, but also as part of the growing process, marijuana plants are trimmed, which releases odor. The third type of marijuana facility is much less known, and those are marijuana infusion facilities. This is where the oil from a marijuana plant is incorporated into a finished product like a cookie or a brownie. And so the oil is typically infused in the product by cooking or blending. And so you can think of an infusion facility a lot like a laboratory with some elements of a bakery in terms of the cooking and blending the oil into the finished product. And then the last type of marijuana facility that's on the screen there is a marijuana testing facility. Those are the facilities that test marijuana for its potency and then also whether or not there's any harmful contaminants. Prior to the legalization of recreational marijuana in 2020, the Arizona Department of Health Services, which administers the marijuana program, had a policy that required infusion facilities to be co-located with cultivation facilities. And so a cultivation facility could operate entirely on its own, but if you wanted to operate an infusion facility, you had to co-locate within the same building as a cultivation facility. That is no longer the case anymore. Following the legalization of recreational marijuana, the Arizona Department of Health Services updated its policies, which now allows for infusion facilities to operate entirely on their own within their own building. But because of that prior policy, you still have lots of jurisdictions throughout the valley that have that group infusion facilities together with cultivation facilities, and Tempe is still one of those jurisdictions. So on the top of the screen are the current definitions under Tempe Zoning and Development Code of a medical marijuana cultivation facility, which is a cultivation facility that operates under a medical license, and then also a marijuana cultivation facility, which is a facility that operates under a recreational marijuana license. You can see from the highlighted language that the definition includes both the cultivation, so the growing, as well as the manufacturing, which is the infusion. And so if you want to operate an infusion facility today in Tempe on its own, you're subject to all the exact same requirements as if you were a cultivation facility. And so that includes the required zoning. You're required to be only in industrial zoning districts, GID or HID. And then also you're required to be separated from certain protected uses, and those are listed on the screen there. It's 1,320 feet from a child care facility, schools, places of worship, public library, public community building, and then 500 feet from a residential zoning district. Now that the policies have been changed and that infusion facilities can operate entirely on their own, we submitted this text amendment which proposes to do two things. The first is to create a new definition or land use that's specific just to infusion facilities. And then the second is to establish separation requirements that are just applied to infusion facilities and are more appropriate given the operations of infusion facilities. On this next slide is the exact language of the text amendment. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen is a new definition that we are proposing for a marijuana infusion facility. You can see from the highlighted language that it just includes the manufacturing of marijuana or the infusion, and it does not include the cultivation, does not include the growing, and it also does not include the sale of marijuana to consumers. Infusion facilities are not open to the public, so this would not involve any sales. It's just an industrial use and occurs entirely indoors with no public interaction. On the right-hand side of the screen are the separation requirements that we're proposing with the text amendment. You can see from the highlights, they're proposing 500 feet of separation from child care facilities, schools, places of worship, public parks, and then 500 feet from residential zoning. Those are all the same protected uses that apply currently to cultivation facilities and also infusion because they're grouped together. The only difference is that for the child care facility, schools, places of worship, public park, we're reducing that separation requirement from 1,320 feet to 500, and then we're leaving the separation for residential at 500. That is the only change that this text amendment makes. All the other requirements that would currently apply to an infusion facility will continue to apply. And so that means you can only be located in industrial zoning districts, only HID or GID. You have to have a security plan that's approved by the city. You have to operate entirely within an enclosed building, and it can't occur outdoors. We think this text amendment will be a positive change to Tempe's zoning and development code for a number of reasons. The primary reason is that, as I explained earlier in the presentation, infusion facilities operate very differently from cultivation facilities. Infusion facilities operate much more similar to a laboratory with some elements of a bakery in terms of the cooking and blending oil into a finished product. It doesn't have the same type of impacts on other properties as you would with a cultivation use. And frankly, from a practical perspective, an infusion facility, because it occurs indoors and there's no signage, it looks just like any other manufacturing or industrial use, and so you wouldn't be able to distinguish it from other industrial buildings. Before I conclude, I do want to quickly just explain why it is that we filed this text amendment. A text amendment, of course, is not property specific, but the reason we filed it is that Mike Halsum, who I had introduced earlier, currently operates an infusion facility in the city of Tempe. His business is co-located with a cultivation facility because that is what was previously required. He would like to move his business into its own industrial building, and he's found the property that's identified on the screen in blue in between Hardy Drive and Priest Drive to the east and to the west. It's within an industrial area of the city. It's zoned industrial. It's surrounded by other industrial uses. And so it's a good location for a marijuana infusion facility that will be indistinguishable from the other manufacturing industrial businesses that are there. But if you apply the cultivation requirements to this building, it would not qualify because it's within 1,320 feet of the Tempe Sports Complex and 1,320 feet of a tenant that's a child care facility to the north. And so in working with city staff, we viewed this as a good opportunity to now finally amend the zoning ordinance to update given the change in policy that allows infusion to be separated, and then to establish new separation requirements that are more appropriate given the infusion use. And so with that, we do hope to have your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Sounds good. Anyone have any questions? All right, and I believe, Mr. Halsum, I know you put in a card earlier. Would you like to speak as well, since this is the public hearing portion? Oh,
he would just like to express his support.
All right, sounds good. I was just reading the card, so. Okay, anyone else wishing to speak on this item? Let's do this in a public hearing. Okay, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Council, any further comments or discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilmember Cubie.
I'd just say I'm supportive of the text amendment. I'll be voting that way in 2 weeks, our last meeting.
I'm also.
Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
I just have to say I got a really good education, and I learned a lot. So I appreciate you really taking the time and understanding what's going on and the changes that are happening, you know, not just in the state but everywhere, and how it can be applicable to us. So I too agree with Councilmember Cubie, as it is our last meeting. So I will be supporting this text amendment moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Councilmember Adams.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also will be supporting this text amendment change. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. I just want to reiterate that the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for June 23rd, 2022.
Mayor, pardon me, Mayor. I believe there's an audience person who wants to speak.
On this item? Oh, yes, absolutely. Because, so it's basically because when an item is actually listed on the agenda, according to Arizona state law, we can't talk about items that aren't on the agenda, but if an item is on the agenda like this one, we're allowed to go back and forth and have conversation. No, that's a whole different,
I'll attempt to explain it. I tried before and then I was cut off, so let me try again. The speakers that were up at the podium were speaking in a different part of the agenda. The opportunity that you have is to talk about the matter that you want to talk about, and it's a monologue. The council doesn't have an opportunity at that time to respond. If you had come up to the podium right now and asked a question, there can be some dialogue on this particular matter that's on the agenda right now. But at the point in time that all the speakers came up, there was no item on the agenda. That was the public opportunity to speak. So it is definitely a different situation. Certainly.
Okay. All right, so the next item under this section is item 8B2, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from GID to R16 to CC, a planned area development overlay to establish development standards, a public hearing to adopt a resolution authorizing a general plan land use map amendment from public open space to mixed use and density map amendment from no density to high density urban core, and approve a development plan review for a new 14-story office building with ground floor commercial for 250 Rio, located at 250 West Rio Salado Parkway. The applicant is Gamage and Burnham PLC.
Use this, right? No? Okay, I have to use this. Oh, good evening.
Yes,
Mr.
good
Mayor, members of the council. For your record, my name is Manjula Vaz, law firm Gamage and Burnham. I am here with Mike Duffy from RSP. We are going to give a very quick presentation on the 250 Rio project, just to have a first hearing, and then we will be back at your second hearing. We'd like to give a more thorough presentation potentially and talk a little bit about a future development agreement. Today we are here on behalf of Hines. Hines was the developer of 100 Mill that I think we all know, along with that helped both do an office building and hotel and the renovation of the Hayden House, along with several other projects Hines has done within the valley. This is the site, and I think we all know of it's the old Penny Saver building just at Rio and Ash. Just to give you a sense of kind of the building and where it's located. In current location, we are asking for, as we move forward, for a general plan amendment to change the land use, a zoning map amendment to allow the building, PAD and the DPR, just our general plan change. I thought tonight, just to go through it, one of the things that we're really proud of and that we've been working with you all for a long time and your staff, and we really appreciate all the time that Maria and Ryan have taken it on this project and all people in the historic preservation community, is the preservation and the rehabilitation of the historic Ash Avenue roadbed that I have Mike talk a little bit about. We additionally will be building a 14-story office building, 4,000 square feet of commercial office space, then integrated 6-level parking garage. So I'm gonna have Mike talk a little bit about the Ash Avenue Bridge and the rehabilitation and how that will develop, along with probably, hopefully the phase 2 of the Veterans Memorial. Then we can talk more about it in 2 weeks. Go ahead.
Yeah, so central to a concept is the context. We're immediately adjacent to Tempe Beach Park and the historic Ash Avenue Bridge, a couple of photos of which are on screen right now. From day one, we wanted to treat Ash Avenue as our front door and embrace that historic feature that has been, unfortunately, in disrepair for a number of years now. In its current state on the left and our proposed improvements on the right, we hope this would be a new gateway to Tempe Beach Park. Here's a plan. Rio Salado is on the right hand, north is on the left here. This is showing the improved Ash Avenue, which would be a new gateway to the park. We've got a pocket park on the south end, and then we've got kind of a new grand staircase and ADA ramp that brings you to the bridge abutment, which is remaining in place on the north side of the property. Here is a letter attached for the Historic Preservation Committee in support of the project, which we had a nice process there. We've also engaged Mark Vincent, who previously prepared a historic rehabilitation assessment of Ash Avenue, and this plan effectively implements that piece here. In a big picture, we've got our building located centrally on the site, stairs to the north, Ash Avenue on the east side here. And then a view from the park. The architecture for the building, there's 3 components. There's the office building itself, there's a parking podium, and then there's what we're calling the connecting activators along Ash Avenue. The building is a glass and metal panel. The garage is screened with some shade fabric stretched over a substructure, and then the activated program along Ash Avenue, activating the park and creating hopefully a greater use of a historic element that's in disrepair. Got a couple more shots here, but I think that's in general the summary of our presentations. Happy to answer any questions if there are any.
Sounds good. Any questions? Councilmember Adams.
I will be supporting this project. I think it's a great project. You guys have done a great job incorporating the preservation of the site and working with the community. So I really appreciate the community outreach that you've done and all the partners you've worked with. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Really quick, thank you, Ms. Vaz and Duffy. I really appreciate you being here, which I've always known Duffy as Duffy and just realized his first name was Mike not long ago, so I do apologize for not knowing that, Mike. But I just got to say, I'm really very excited and very pleased with the partnership and the way this has been transforming and the way it's working to move together. I mean, not only you talk a lot about the Ash Avenue Road, and for a lot of people that don't know, that Ash Avenue Road has a lot of historic value for the city of Tempe, but it actually has not been used since like the 1930s. And it has been chain linked up for, I can't even imagine how long, for as long as I can certainly remember. And I think the idea that you're really gonna be able to not only restore that, work it, have it be your front door, but to also incorporate the Phase 2 Veterans Memorial. For me, that is just really exciting. One of the things that we've been working on for many years, to really complement the Phase 1, the abutment, but to be able to not only honor our veterans, but to tell our story and what that looks like, and really just make it an experience, not only for our residents, but for our visitors and people that come to Tempe Beach Park. And really, I know that we're gonna hear a lot more when we talk about the development agreement in a couple of weeks, which as of right now, you have my full support. I'm very excited about it, and hopefully it'll work out that way. But you have really addressed so many things that are important to us in a lot of ways, and not only with the design, not only the Veterans Memorial, not even restoring part of our history, but you've also, committed to helping us with the streetcar, dedicated dollars to Hometown for All, talking about our school districts. And to me, I think you brought us a project that really talks Tempe. So I can't really thank you enough. It's been really great. I know you've vetted out a lot of things and you've done a lot of things, and I'm really grateful and really excited to see this come forward in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you so much. All right, the second public hearing on this item was scheduled for June 23rd, 2022. Last item under the section is 8B3, which is to introduce and hold the first public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a development and disposition agreement with Tempe 206 South Farmer Avenue LLC, a Delaware limited liability company. And I see Ms. Sender coming to the podium, desk, whatever that thing is.
Yes, Maria and I, we're going to be very quick. This is the introduction of the development agreement that would effectuate the development of this project that you've seen many, many times, approved several months ago. And this is the First and Farmer project, which would include 200 units of residential housing, 20 units of 60 to 80% AMI affordable housing. Plus, as you can see, it's a substantially eco-friendly building. We're working through a lot of the details with the what's it called? The biophilic design and the drainage out in front. We're working through all those issues with the city staff, and it's going very well. And we're very excited to get moving forward on our construction very soon.
We just wanted to mention, this is the first project that we are bringing forward to council with the newly adopted policy on how to calculate the public benefit of affordable housing. So we're very excited to show how it does work. And with this project, the developer has committed to a first lien covenant, restrictive covenant for 20 designated units that will be available at a 60 to 80% AMI for 30 years. So that'll add significantly to our inventory. The public benefit value of this housing covenant is $2 million.
And I'd like to just also reiterate the 30 years is 5 years longer than the GIPLET itself. So we went ahead and did that at several requests.
Yes. Are there any questions?
Yes, Councilmember Adams.
I don't really have a question. I just have a comment. I'm really happy to see the 20 designated units available, for more affordable housing. So thank you for doing that, and thank the developer on this project. And I love the green space all over. I think it's a great looking building, and the more trees, the better, and the more green, the better. So thank you so much.
Sounds good. Thank you. Anyone else?
Sure.
Councilmember Cubie.
Thank you. It is really delightful to see affordable housing in downtown Tempe, and thank you so much. I know it was a long process and getting that forward, and thank you for stepping out and leading. Darren, especially. Maria, thank you for all the work and putting the formula together, because it's going to pay off in many different ways. Just had a question, because I remember our agreement, or I know maybe I shouldn't speak for the whole council, but we talked about the $100,000 in traffic calming.
Yes.
So that is still part of this agreement, right?
Yes, it is. Councilmember Kuby, we have that stipulated to our zoning case. And in fact, just yesterday, Ryan and I were going through figuring out when exactly that's triggered. So that $100,000 for traffic calming is still included in with the project.
Because there was just sort of rumors, a buzz, I don't know where they came from, that somehow that was being taken away, or so we're clear, okay.
Yeah, and in addition to that, there's a $15,000 also donation to the city for 3 years of on-street parking passes for residents in single-family homes that live on the streets that have the parking passes required on their streets. So we'll be paying for right around 3 years for that. It might actually be more, depends on, you know, the money we give them. It might actually stretch out a little further.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else? Any further comments? Great. Thank you so much. All right. Anyone wishing to speak on this item, since this is a public hearing item? Yes, Mr. Yates.
Good evening again. I am here on behalf of Riverside Neighborhood Association. I'm the president for it. And back on December 9th, item 7B2 addressed the $100,000 donation for traffic calming. And I've been getting countless questions as to when is this $100,000 actually going to come to fruition so that we can have this street calming that was promised by Sam Gordon and his development company. And I'd like an answer to that from Sam Gordon, so I can relay it to everybody that lives in our community, because it was extremely important to us all. And I'd like to thank Robin Savage for opposing it. But and in any case, that's pretty much all I had to say about it. I would definitely like to know from somebody in the city, when is this actually going to happen? Thank you.
Ms. Ender, could you address Mr. Yates' question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. One of the requests from the neighborhood early on, I think we recall, was the speed humps in the neighborhood and where they were going to go. And Sam stepped up and said, you know, we'll go ahead and contribute right around 9 or 10 of them, which would be about $100,000. And talked to the neighborhood about that. As you recall, we agreed to their demands. Still had some opposition from the neighborhood, but we went ahead and included that in our stipulations. And Sam added on top of that, we cannot get a building permit until that $100,000 is in the hands of the city, in the place where it needs to be, so that those speed cushions, they're calling them, is implemented. So we've been working with Shelley Seiler on that as to where they're going to go. And the neighborhood still has to work on like the location of them and everything. But we will not get a building permit, a vertical building permit, until that $100,000 is in the city's hands. And that's been the agreement all along.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Please get my attention. All right, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any further comments or discussion? Yes, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Just because Phil reminded me that I did vote no, Darren, so and I knew that, and I saw it coming back up tonight, and I got to tell people, and it's not because I don't appreciate the project and what's gone into it, and you representing, and the developers, because I think they're going to do a really great job, but just for clarification, the reason why I did not support this originally when it came forth is because I felt like I had made a promise to the residents around there in regards to creating a buffer from the urban core to the residential, and I just really wanted to stay true to that promise. And I do appreciate the fact that this affordable housing unit, the pieces are in there, this formula is going to be created, so we are kind of setting a precedent moving forward, and I really do appreciate that too. So as we move forward, I realized that maybe I was on, a different, I guess I wasn't the majority of everybody, of what they felt, but I do understand and really respect this council and their wishes moving forward, and so when we do see this come back, I will be supporting it in the future.
Thank you so much. Any other further comments from council? All right. Hearing none, once again, just want to reiterate the second and final public hearing on this item is scheduled for June 23rd, 2022. All right, the next items scheduled here are for our ordinances items for second hearing and final adoption. These items were first introduced on May 26, 2022, and votes on these items will be taken tonight. The first item under the section is 8C1, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance authorizing the abandonment of a portion of a waterline easement located in a development on the southeast corner of Evergreen Road and Southern Avenue. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item? Okay, I will close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? Hearing none, look for a motion on item 8C1.
A motion.
Moved by Councilmember Adams.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Please vote.
Yes.
That item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. Next item under the section is 8C2, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a code text amendment to the Zoning and Development Code consisting of modifications to the home occupation allowed uses and definitions for beauty salons and barbershops. The applicant is the City of Tempe. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this item, or does Council have any need for a presentation? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any comments or discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Okay,
Second.
It's moved by Councilmember Cubie and seconded by Councilmember Adams. Please vote.
Yes.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. The last item under the section is 8C3, which is to hold the second and final public hearing to adopt an ordinance for a zoning map amendment from R4 to MU4 and to adopt a resolution authorizing a general plan projected density map amendment from medium to high density for Ramada Inn rezoning located at 1635 North Scottsdale Road. The applicant is the City of Tempe. Just a quick note too, the resolution authorizing the general plan amendment requires at least a 2/3 vote City Council majority for approval. And I'll ask really quickly, Madam City Attorney, given that we have one member absent tonight, how many votes would that constitute?
That would be 4 votes necessary to approve, Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much. Council, is there any presentation you'd like for staff on this item or any explanation? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this item? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Council, any further comments or discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, so that, I'll say this is, once again, this is a 2-vote item. So on the first one, which is the vote on the general plan projected density map amendment, I've got a motion from Councilmember Adams.
That's correct.
Do I have a second? Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Adams, seconded by Councilmember Cubie. Please vote.
Yes.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. The second motion I will need is on the resolution authorizing a general plan projected density map amendment. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion to approve.
Moved by Councilmember Adams. Do I have a second? Seconded by Councilmember Arredondo Savage. Please vote.
Yes.
And that item passes 6-0 with Councilmember Navarro absent. All right, next up here is item number 9, current events, council announcements, and future agenda items. I'll call upon the council for their comments, and I'm going to start with Councilmember Adams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you could pull up, oh, you've got it up. All right, good job, Jason. Anyway, so I wanted to just bring up that first up is Pride Night with the Phoenix Mercury, actually, which is tomorrow night at 7 p.m. at the Footprint Center in downtown Phoenix. The Phoenix Mercury, my favorite team in the WNBA, is a 3-time world champion, and this is their 8th annual Pride event. So I'd encourage everyone to attend, and they will celebrate diversity, equity, and inclusion for our LGBTQ community. The first 5,000 fans will even get a Mercury Pride flag. So please consider going tomorrow night and supporting our local Mercury. Next up is a Pride Fest at the Urban World Market and Entertainment Center in, thank you. That's okay, no problems. No problem. I just have a lot of different announcements on that one slide. So Pride Fest at the Urban World Market and Entertainment Center in Mesa, and that'll be held Saturday, June 11th at 12 p.m. So wear your brightest colors and come out and celebrate.
If laughter and sit-down entertainment is more your style, head over to the Chandler Improv Mania Comedy Club for their Pride Mania show on Wednesday, June 22nd at 7:30 p.m. And if you want to head closer to home, you can join the Tempe Emmanuel of Tempe for Pride Sabbath service on Friday, June 24th at 6:30. All are welcome to attend in person or on Zoom. And last, but certainly not the least, is Miss Gay Arizona America 2022 pageant at our very own Tempe Center for the Arts. And those of you that haven't attended the Tempe Center for the Arts, it's a beautiful building. I was there last week for the Gay Men's Course, the Phoenix Gay Men's Course, and it was a great event and great venue. So I'd encourage everyone to attend. Next is the Tempe Tourism featured event, Park After Dark in downtown Tempe is back. So we do that every summer. And so kick back and relax at 6th Street Park. It's right out here on the 2nd and 4th Saturday of each month from 7 to p.m. We have live music, food and drinks, and it's just a really good time. So lots of different musics, and those are my announcements for this evening. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Adams. Next up, Councilmember Arredondo Savage.
Just a couple of announcements, Mayor, and I will ask the incredible Mr. Jason Wolf to just throw up a slide and I'll make it work. Okay, there we go. So I know the mayor earlier did a proclamation. Thank you, Mayor. I think that was really great when we talk about the Juneteenth celebration and just the idea of really remembering our past and also looking forward to our future. So I thank him for doing that. But also just a reminder to our community and those that want to come out. We have a really great event. Thank you to the African American Advisory Committee and our staff for planning it and hosting it. Come on out. It's at the Tempe History Museum. It's very family friendly. They have a lot of really great things there to do. A lot of good food and music, and it's really for a really good purpose too. And I would really encourage people to come. It's from 11 to 3. And the second thing is I want to just give a great shout out to the scholarship award winners from College Connect Tempe. Each one of these award winners that you see up there, 10 of them, will be receiving a $1,000 scholarship from College Connect for their journey onto college or post-secondary education, whatever that may be. They all attended in some form, really worked to help navigate the process, which College Connect does, to really getting themselves in a good position to post-secondary education, returning it, maybe obtaining an associate's degree, a certification, or going on to college. And this doesn't happen by itself. It happens because we have a really great partnership with our education partners that are all here and on board. They do so much really good work to ensure that these students, these scholars, are prepared for their next adventures outside of high school, but also to our city staff that continue to work really hard and make this a really significant state-known program, but also to the Ramsey Social Justice Foundation. If it really wasn't for them and their donations, so thank you, Jenny and Bob, for what you continue to always do for this community. They are the ones that have put up the dollars to be able to get these scholarships to our scholars. So very grateful for them and what they continue to do, and the amazing partnerships that really help our Tempe community, I think, be one of the most outstanding cities in the state and in the country. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Garland?
Thank you, Mayor. I have one slide, not if possible. I don't know. Should we show my slide? Yeah? Should we? Yeah. Sorry, I'm going to hold off and wait. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Let's go to Vice Mayor Keating.
Nothing for me, Mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Next up, Councilmember Cubie.
Thank you, and I do have a slide. Yes, next Thursday, the 16th, I'll be hosting, as part of my role, I'm at ASU, the Stardust Center, Affordable Homes and the Family. We're going to be hosting an event with an author, Bruce King. His new book, New Ideas for Carbon Smart Architecture, and it's going to highlight carbon pioneers who are providing a roadmap for re-envisioning the built environment as a carbon filter, so turning buildings actually into sites of net carbon storage. So pretty exciting work. I would love to see that work happening in Tempe, but too late for me to give input there. But it's moderated by Philip Horton, who co-directs ASU's Center of Building Innovation. So I'd love you all to come at lunchtime, or you can always watch it on tape. And then I also wanted to talk about, just very quickly, commend Tempe Elementary School District. They had a meeting last night where they considered names, the renaming of Hudson, Gilliland, and Laird schools, and that comes from the work that we've done on identifying the impact of KKK members in Tempe in the 1920s. So they're going to be renaming Gilliland, Hudson, and Laird schools. And I just want to commend Dr. James Driscoll, who's the superintendent. He's an amazing leader. And President Windsor, Vice President Ewers, and board members Morales, Lemon, and Trejo. They're doing amazing work. And I heard some of the names, many of whom I recognize, that are being considered for the new names. And Geneva Mosley, who was at Gilliland for decades and so influential in the Tempe community, and Joe Spercali is being considered as well, and Ralph Goitia, and then Adolfo Romo and Joaquina Jones, who brought the case Romo versus Laird in 1925, which was the first case to challenge Plessy versus Ferguson based on racial desegregation in the Tempe school systems, and he's an American hero that has not been recognized. So I was really pleased to see Adolfo Romo's name and Joaquina Jones, his wife, mentioned as well. So just kudos to TD3. We're also doing our work on renaming. We're a little bit behind them, but they have the 3 schools to consider. I thought they would come after us, but they went before us, and I know we're going to be naming our renaming commission relatively soon and moving on with that process. But kudos to all of the fine work that's being done at Tempe Elementary School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cubie. I don't have any announcements this evening, so I guess I will move on. Y'all good? Or? I'm good. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, no worries. All right, item number 10, public appearances. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address the City Council? If so, please come forward and state your name and city of residence for the record. Okay. Seeing none, we are on item number 11, adjournment. This meeting is now adjourned, and the next regular scheduled City Council meeting is for June 23rd, 2022. We're going to take about 60 seconds for Jason to switch over, and then we will go back to the special budget meeting.